How is your fundraiser going this year? If it's anything less than amazing, it's time to talk to Shawn Murphy at FanPledge. No product to sell, nothing to deliver, and guaranteed results. Raise at least 10% more than your current donation based fundraiser, or it's free. Fun, fast, proven. Call Shawn at 903-948-7348. FanPledge. The champions are already on board. Are you? Band Yap is proudly sponsored by Troubadour Consultants. When it comes to planning group travel for your fine arts program, look no further than Troubadour Consultants. Whether you're organizing a major out of state trip or need top notch accommodations for the state marching contest, John Mize and his team are ready to create a custom travel experience that meets your band's unique needs. As a family owned, band director run company, Troubadour understands exactly what it takes to make your trip stress free and seamless. Plus, when you book a trip with Troubadour, they will sponsor a $500 college scholarship for a student in your band. Directors who book will also receive a free Mollard baton as a special thank you. Visit troubadourconsultants.com today to start planning your next trip with the experts who truly get it.
You are it, my friend. Like, you are Stone Cold Steve Austin in band form.
Man, I'm gonna be 6'8", and I'm gonna like, in my mind, I was gonna replace the Undertaker. Like, he was gonna retire. Boom. 9.5 months.
Wayne.
Swing. Yeah.
Hello and welcome to Band Yap. I am Alexa Sanchez.
I'm Jose Sanchez.
And we have a very special guest here. Today we have Mr. Brian Sowers.
Mr. Sowers Style.
Welcome, Brian.
Glad to be here.
Well, I mean, Brian, as we like to yap, actually, let me go ahead and ask this question. What is the story behind Sowers Style?
Well, that is a long story. So, I always say happy birthday, right? I don't say happy birthday. I say happy birthday. And that comes from a pop song from when I was in high school, and it just happy birthday. And so we joked about it on a bus ride one time, and so it stuck with me forever. And I just figured out I would just put apostrophe after the P and after the T and just shorten it up. So, like, hey shorty, it's your birthday. And so we always just joked about that. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, I
Like,
do.
I'm not insane
like...
here. Could I name it? No, I can't. But I just remember being on the bus and we were making, like, we were overemphasizing birthday. And so I don't know why it stuck with me, because back then we didn't have social media, right? So, but I just stuck with me, and I thought, well, it's Sour Style, I guess. And because people are looking at it like, that's really goofy. Why don't you just spell it out? And now, actually, people tell me that it asks for translation, or it gives you a translation of it. So I guess I came up with my own language. I don't know what to tell you on that.
Better.
Yeah, in the
So,
club.
It's 50 cents.
It is 50 cents. So, yeah, it is. And now that you say it, I remember. But it's just, we were just singing it, and I was just overemphasizing it to the extreme. And band memories. It was either in high school, or I worked at a junior high band camp for the first year of college or something. It doesn't matter, but it was with those students and high school students that came back and worked or whatever. But that's the story behind Happy Birthday Sour Style. Maybe I have to pay.
Yeah, that's what we should do.
I may have to pay 50 cents, some type of royalty now, so I don't know.
That's okay. We'll just mute that part.
You need to, like, Photoshop Brian's head onto the body of 50 Cent.
That's a good idea. We should do that. Coming soon to an Instagram page near you.
The
Good
most
content
mismatched picture ever.
Yeah.
Well, sorry to interject that way, but can you go ahead and tell us, like, about yourself?
So basically, I'm Brian Sowers, and I'm teaching at Hall currently, but I've been teaching in small school for about 16 years. I've been at Hall for 11 of that. I was in San Saba for 5 years before that, and went to the University of Arkansas, Woo Pig Sooie, for about 5 years. You try to get out in 4 years, but music education doesn't allow you to do that. And before that, I went to Wills Point High School under the direction of John Young. So I grew up between Wills Point and Terrell, Texas, on Highway 80, in a just outside, I like to say, the suburbs of Elmo, Texas. And that's a real community. Elmo, Texas, just like Elmo, the character from Sesame Street. So, it's easy enough to remember. I mean, other than that, that's pretty that's the short and long of it. I mean, from a detailed specific, I guess we'd have to get there. But just, I started from a small school and just the other day I posted on Facebook about the Midwest experience and stuff. But I'm thinking, who thinks a person from Elmo, Texas is going to be conducting a band in Chicago, right? It's just weird. And that's the small school, dream, I guess. And I did not consider myself to be a small school or to be a band director until late in high school. And I always joke with people. I mean, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a professional wrestler, like that's what I wanted to be. And then I realized I was going to be 5'7", and I was like, that's not going to happen.
Okay, Brian, you have no idea. We talk about this.
Jose's been formulating this question
Oh my goodness.
for weeks, honestly.
Because actually, I refer to you as Stone Cold Band Austin. Because I mean, you are it, my friend. Like, you are Stone Cold Steve Austin in band form. I go, you're running around to these band kids and giving them stunners of experience.
Right.
Like, it is.
Didn't tease your dream.
Just, I do have a bald head and I do have a goatee, but I lack a lot of the muscular superiority of Steve Austin and the awesomeness or the walk that he referred to coming to the ring. But my favorite, now you bring up Stone Cold Steve Austin, which of course obviously was it back then, right? He was the Hulk Hogan of his era. He was the Ric Flair of his era, whatever. But when I was a fan in the late 90s, everybody was a fan in the late 90s. That was the attitude area. Like, you went to school and all you talked about was, did you see Raw last night? Did you see Nitro last night? Like, everybody had an NWO shirt.
We just had a
Stone
conversation
Cold Steve Austin shirt
about the WCW versus WWF Monday Night Clash.
Yeah. Monday Night Wars.
How that was so formative for the people of the night.
I must have missed this. I must have been learning to read or something. I don't. I just wasn't there.
You were just, yeah. It was it was sort of a dude thing, I think.
I guess.
Yeah.
We wasted a lot of mental energy on this, but you certainly made sure you knew before you showed up at school, like, oh man, I didn't watch Raw last night. This is going to be bad. Or I didn't watch Nitro last night. Did you see the finger point of doom, finger prick of doom? There was just so much involved with that. But I was an Undertaker fan, super huge Undertaker fan. And so, he was popular, but he certainly wasn't Stone Cold Steve Austin. But I mean, and I was like, man, I'm going to be 6'8", and I'm going to, like, in my mind, I was going to replace the Undertaker. Like, I was going to, like, he was going to retire. Boom, I'm involved. And like, I'm the next guy. And then I was like 5'8", and I'm like, guess I'll be a band director,
So it's the logical second choice.
So for anybody listening, Brian has no clue about the episode with Mark. And so this is going to be so perfect. So
it's perfect. A good segue.
Yeah. So you came from a fantastic band program with a fantastic band director.
Correct. Well, I mean, I guess that's subjective for certain people, but yes, I mean, it was a solid people like, no, gosh, I'm from Kent, Texas. Wills Point was trash, But no, yes. So when I was in 6th grade, and I guess I'll go ahead and tell you, I told my mom, I said, hey, I want to be in band. And my mom was like, band? You want to be in band? Like, she was like, it was not the thing to do in my household, right? I did not come from a musical family, but so I was like, yeah, I want to be in band because, your friends are in band, so you're in band. Whatever your friends are doing, you want to do. So little did I know when I'm in 6th grade in Wills Point, Texas, that, the Wills Point band at the time was trash, as the kids today would say. It was not good. I mean, it was Division III, maybe even Division IV, and it was just not solid. And so when I started, John Young's first year as band director in Wills Point was my first year as a 6th grader. So, I would see him or whatever, but obviously I didn't think
being in his program just made him a better band director. Obviously.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Obviously I copied his hairstyle, so that I followed his directive, not the other way around. But so he would come down every once in a while, right? And you know how this works, junior high director's always going to have more input or whatever. But little did I know down the road, I found out what he did and how he transferred the program from something that was not good, third division, to, obviously by the time I graduated or the year right after, they advanced to state, which that's a whole nother like petty thing I have. But so like literally the year after I graduate, they go to state. So that's another story for maybe later in this conversation. But he came and his directive from the superintendent at the time is you have 3 years to get a sweepstakes or you're out, and by the third year he got a sweepstakes. And so, and my story sort of follows his later on, a decade later or whatever. But I saw that, and growing up, obviously I'm into wrestling or whatever, or I wanted to be a politician and at one point a lawyer or whatever. So you think about all these career paths or whatever, but by the time I got to high school, about midway through high school, I'm going, and I was terrible at the trumpet, and I got braces really bad. Like it was like embarrassing, and that's a whole nother story for another time maybe. But I switched to tuba my sophomore year, and then I started getting good, and I was like, oh man, I'm making all region and ATSSB. I almost made all state, and I'm like, I'm kind of good at this. And the only other thing I was involved in at that time, other than maybe just doing my academic work and making decent grades, was football. Well, I'm all of 5'8" and like 165, and I'm not fast. I can't throw the ball, so I'm a lineman. And linemen at 5'8" and 165 pounds aren't very good. So, and in my school district, I had to make a choice because we were on a block schedule. You either have to be in band or football or athletics, And I'm like, well, again, I'm good at this and not that. And it was at that time I started to realize, wow, John Young had turned this program that was not good into something that was great. And I started thinking, that's what I want to do. Because I was really involved in like building things like Sim City and The Sims. Like I wanted to make things, create things, and make them better. And, I know that's weird, right? Like Sim City and band directing, how does that fit? But that was my dream. I was not ultimately a great musician or a great player. In fact, when I got to college, I didn't even know all of the concepts of just basic music theory, So not to carry on too long on that, but that's the short and long of the question, I guess.
So why Arkansas?
Once again, John Young had gone to the University of Arkansas, and a friend of mine 2 years prior that was my tuba section leader when I first became a tuba player, he had gone to the University of Arkansas. So he had come back and said, hey, I'll give you a tour and all that stuff. So I went up there, beautiful campus in the Boston Mountains. I mean, you come down from the interstate, at the time was 549, now it's 49. Coming from Fort Smith, you come down into the valley, and you see the old main campus up on the hill. I mean, it's just beautiful. And I thought, I want to do something different. And I had either applied I looked at SFA, Stephen F. Austin State University, but their scholarship opportunities at that time were offering me like $200. And ultimately at the University of Arkansas, by the second year, I was making $3,600 a year plus out-of-state waiver, which was $20,000 a year. So I thought, this is where I want to go. I want to try something different. And the University of Arkansas, of course, is in Northwest Arkansas, some 6 hours away from where I grew up. And I thought, man, this is what I want to do. I want to get away. I want to do something different. Anyhow, I'll never forget, my parents dropped me off, and my dad said, well, have fun. And he started getting in the car, and he goes, but not too much fun. and that's a memory that I won't ever forget. Later on, it was a great experience. I still tell my kids, though, man, I wish I'd have gone to like TVCC or Tyler Junior College or something first and gotten all my basics out of the way and not had debt coming out of college. But I can never look at my experience at the University of Arkansas and not be like, man, that was awesome. Nothing like marching in front of 76,000 fans, at Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium. And getting to go to all the SEC schools, I got to go to, they call it Death Valley there in LSU. I got to go to Tennessee Neyland Stadium. I literally thought I was I was like, is this a Roman Coliseum? A Tennessee Neyland Stadium, it's just really cool and epic. South Carolina. So anyhow, that was really fun. And so basically I went because my band director had said he'd gone there, and I went, well, let's try it.
So band was really the vehicle that gave you all those experiences.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was just floating through. I was just average through high school, academically, below average athletically. And band was like, man, I'm kind of good at this. let's see what I can do with it. I like leading. I like because I had rejoined the Boy Scouts like at age 16 after quitting at age 13. And when I rejoined, that the troop was like a bunch of 12-year-olds, right? So I was like a super leader. I'm at 16 leading all these kids and trying to get my Eagle Scout, which I ultimately did. But that helped me. But yeah, music, if it wasn't for John Young, if it wasn't for what he did, um, it, I don't know what I would be doing now. I certainly wouldn't be wrestling, obviously, and I would
You never
probably be
know.
extremely unhappy in politics or whatever. But it would just be, gosh, what would I be? I'm like the same size as Rey Mysterio with absolutely zero athleticism. So I would hit the rope and just fall on the floor.
Yeah. I mean, and that's something that we have to like remember as band directors, because sometimes it's very easy for us to get, I guess, self-absorbed, that we ultimately can point a student in a completely different direction for their life, and that's something that, you just forget sometimes, because like once they will leave our doors, they're gone.
Yeah. And not always the way you want them to be gone.
Uh,
You think, and I can think of so many students that I'm like, this student could have been an all-state student, but they chose a different path. And whereas I wasn't, I mean, I was close to being an all-state student, a couple of chairs away, but I certainly wasn't like a prodigy or something like that. I just did band because it was something fun to do, and I knew I was decent at it. But there's so many kids out there, you go, man, you could be everything in music, but they want to go run cross country or they want to go pursue nursing or whatever. And that's fine. But they think, I just make sure I tell them, look, I'm not asking you to be a music major. I know that that's not maybe not your specialty, but at least be in band and get scholarships and let it help you fund your education. That's my biggest thing.
so fresh out of college, you ended up where?
San Saba, America. And
And
so,
Saba.
which is 10 hours away. So I live and grew up 6 hours away from the University of Arkansas. I go there in my 1970 Torino, which I still don't know how I made it. And so I'm there, and then I leave Arkansas, but I knew when I graduated the University of Arkansas that I was not going to stay in Arkansas. I was like an Arkansas graduate. Like it was, I'll never forget my first game at the University of Arkansas was against who? Just take a guess. Home game. It was a home game at our stadium at the Arkansas. It was against the University of Texas. And what was I doing in the stands? Hooking the horns. And I almost got destroyed. Like my friends are like, dude, you can't do that. You're at the University of Arkansas. And I'm like, but I love Texas. Anyhow, so I guess that predicated my experience later. But when I graduated, I knew two things. I wanted to go back to Texas, and I wanted to teach in a small school that needed to be rebuilt, because that was why I joined this. I didn't want to go somewhere where everything was spotless and pretty and everything was shined up and no dust. I wanted to go where things needed to be fixed. That was my goal. I didn't want to take over for somebody else. Later on, I call it, I don't want to be the man after the man or the man after the woman. I don't want to do that. I want to go somewhere where nobody wants to go, fix it. Like that was my goal. So I applied for this random town, which I didn't know. I didn't even know Texas existed west of I-35, right? Like I grew up, like I was like, Fort Worth, that's West Texas. Like that's pretty much like the desert. Like in my mind, like I grew up 50.
That's what happens when you live behind the pine curtain.
I know. Yeah.
And listen, in Wills Point, Terrell is right like 50 miles east of Mesquite, right? Of course, I'm listening to John Schreiber's podcast not too long ago, and of course, he grew up in the Mesquite area, right? And I'm thinking that's where El Phoenix is. In my mind, that was where El Phoenix was, and County Small. Like that was the biggest thing, and we were 50 miles or so from there. So I didn't grow up that far. I really grew up from the outskirts. And now Forney, when I was growing up, Forney was like 3 flags and a fake like Statue of Liberty. Like that was all Forney was. And so, but now it's like this huge bedroom community or whatever. But we grew up just outside of that. And, but still to me, I'm like, Fort Worth, man, that's like where Longhorns are. And like, just, that's where West Texas started for me. And that's silly now as an adult, but that's what I thought. And I had family that was in, it's funny that you say Gatesville, but I had family that grew up in Gatesville. Four cousins that grew up there. I had two cousins that grew up in Italy, not Italy, Italy.
Italy.
And which I think you started teaching there. That was your first job, wasn't it?
No, that's
In that area?
Jesus.
No, was it Wortham? Was it Wortham you started?
Rosebud Lot.
I started Rosebud Lot, but then I ended up at Wortham, and that's,
Yes,
I believe,
Wortham.
where you and I kind of connected.
Correct. And you kind of set that up, you know, as where Jesus set up Italy, which when I grew up, Italy was like, I watched the game one time, and that was one of the other reasons I turned to my uncle at the time when we were watching my cousin. I said, when I grow up, I want to fix a band like this because this band's not that good. This was way before
Yeah.
Jesus got there. And of course, now he's in Cross Plains killing it or whatever. But this way before that, way before Freddie, like it was very bad. And I was like, this is why I want to be a band director. I want to fix kids like this. And so, but I had two cousins who grew up there. So, but that was I-35, right? I mean, really, let's be honest. Gatesville's a little bit over in West Texas, but I didn't know anything other than that. So when you talk about San Saba, Texas, to me, I'm like, where is San Saba, Texas? And little did I know that a lot of people know where it is because of hunting. But that's where I was like, I want to go there. So I interviewed there, and this is in the middle of nowhere, right? And I drive in there and I interview, and it goes basically pretty well. But the downtown community, I'm sitting there going, like, this is cool. Like, this is old school downtown where, like, the buildings like, they had a renaissance, basically, when I showed up. And they were redoing the buildings and all that stuff. But the band program, just like, they didn't have a required summer band camp or anything like that. So it was like a Division II program. It wasn't horrible. And the band director at the time was trying to rebuild it, but the culture wasn't buying in. So I was like, and he wanted to move on to something else at that time. And I said, look, you know, I want to do this. And so who thinks that a fresh college graduate is going to the middle of nowhere, Texas, to take over for a head director band directing job? And so many people, including John Young, was like, dude, he didn't say dude, but he was like, hey, man, why don't you think about taking an assistant job somewhere in a bigger school district and learning from a head band? No, I want to go do this, and I could do this. And ultimately, it worked really well for my career, but probably should have started somewhere in a smaller school district. So
I didn't realize you and John Schreiber have some parallel kind of, beginnings.
absolutely. So here's the funny thing is John Schreiber is like it right now, right? So, but when I was in,
He is him?
yeah, I did hear him say that, and I'm like, I'm gonna call him. I'm gonna see him at like tmea. I'm gonna be like, dude, him really? But so the craziest thing is I don't feel like I'm older than John Schreiber, but I also feel like I'm a million years older than him. So I started in San Saba in '09, and he started in Valley Mills in 12, right? 2012.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So I'm terrible at my job at first, right? Like I got a 2.23 right off the bat, and I'm coming from a Division I band program. I'm like, okay, I'm terrible. I need to just quit my job. Like this was the wrong field for me. I should have went and been a terrible wrestler or something. Like this is bad. Called John Young, and it's my mentor time, and he's like, it stings, doesn't it? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, you got to get up tomorrow and do your job still. And I'm like, dude, that's terrible. You don't make me feel better at all. Like I was just in an SUV like 30 minutes ago wondering if I'm in the right career. So long story short, I'm 3 years into this and finally figuring it out in 2012, right? I guess maybe that's 4 years into it. And we make it to area or whatever in 13. And I saw this group. They had done the show that we did the year before called The Fall of Troy. And we were on doing another show at that point. but we had a custom arrangement by that boy Barry Hurt, and
Very hurt.
Barry Hurt, like I still attribute the beginning of my career success to Barry Hurt.
I think
So the
Barry
Fall of
Hurt
Troy is a
him.
Barry. Yes, in 2012, we did a show called The Fall of Troy by Barry Hurt, and that's where I got my first straight ones in marching, and it was clean. And he happened to be the judge that year, and he was
Wow.
like, "I've never seen." He called me up like 2 months after that, and he was like, "Man, I'd never seen visuals done for that show like you did it." He's like, "I'd like to write a show for you and your band." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So fast forward 2013, we're at area, and we're marching the show at the time called Event Horizon. It's custom written, and I'm talking to my kids. I'm like, "Guys, you did good." Da, 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 da. And I hear in the background, I'm like, "Is that the Fall of Troy?" And I'm like, "They're doing the exact same dynamics I did." Like, I turn around, I'm like, "What is this band?" And there was like 3.5 kids out there. No, I'm joking, but it was like 25 kids. And I turn around and I'm like, and my kids are like, "This is what we did last year." And I turn around, I'm like, "Who is doing this?" I'm like, "Man, that sounds good." And I start doing some research in like Valley Mills. I'm like, they got like a 4 the year before. And I'm like, "Who is this person?" And he got a 112. And I remember calling another mentor of mine at the time, there's still now, Dale Stelzer. And I said, "This guy, John Shriver in Valley Mills, I'm just going to tell you right now, and I swear to God, I'm not making this up." I said, "He's going to be a state champion. Like he is it." And
He is him.
Yeah.
I mean, he apparently was. And so I I said, "Dude knows what he's doing." Like I've never seen somebody, because I knew he was new, because of course, what do you do? At your competition, you're like looking up Texas music forums. Oh my God, he turned this program around in 1 year. He was alternate to state or very close. And I'm like, man. And so I want to say I was the first one to predict that he would be a state champion. I still tell him that to this day. And then later on, he was state champion. So, but yeah, that's sort of the short. I mean, San Saba is a wonderful community. I really enjoyed my time there. Very
The
much.
only reason I know about that community is because there used to be this video game on like computers where you could play like a poker game, and San Saba was one of the tournament spots. That's the only reason I knew about that.
The reason I have always heard San Saba is because I think that's like the westernmost area that our like news station covers.
Mhm.
So when I used to watch like the severe weather broadcasts when I was a kid, I feel like that's always like the county that's listed as San Saba.
Yeah. Did you grow up in the Austin area then?
No, I grew up outside of Waco, Axtell.
Yeah. So yeah, it would have been. Yeah, probably so, because, and then at that time, now I realize that pretty much San Angelo is where West Texas starts, really, in my
Yeah.
opinion, at this point.
Yeah.
That's like the border. But it's a lot of people know it from being a hunting community. Like a lot of people know it for being really big into hunting. And I know that now, but at the time I was like, where am I going to interview?
Is it
Like,
technically in the hill country? Is that kind of where
it is.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
is. I think it's one of the west. I think Brady might be the westernmost hill country town.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but
Hmm.
it's
That's what I
certainly
thought.
yes. San Saba is a hill country town, and it's also like the pecan capital of the world. So
Oh,
that's what it's
I
known
didn't know
for.
that.
Is it
Yep.
pecan or is it pecan?
No, don't say pecan.
Why would you even do that?
That's like Toucan Sam. Like, don't Pecan Sam.
We're
Uh,
gonna kick you off the podcast, and this is half your
I I am a
Thanks, God.
pecan person. Okay, it's like a Mexican.
Liv,
I'm gonna have to
you
have
are the band director. You are the director of bands in Gatesville. You cannot say pecan. You're gonna get kicked out of the town.
You're gonna sick Stone Cold Band Austin on you, but
So, what's your favorite pie?
Probably apple.
what's your favorite pie?
Oh, pecan.
Okay, mine too. I like chocolate pecan, but I like
Pecan's
pecan.
really, really good too.
Yeah.
You know what I hate?
Like, let me think about it. Key lime pie.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I was still
make
right,
the
but that's not what
same
I
sound.
wanted to say.
I cannot get behind pumpkin pie.
I know.
I just can't.
I like pumpkin pie fine. I don't like key lime
Whipped
pie
cream.
either. It just seems like we're three peas in a pod here, though. With
Yeah,
the
I think
key
it's
lime.
the spice. I think it's the
I
spice
guess
primarily.
you like
Pumpkin?
cinnamon and stuff, though. Yeah, and then the pumpkin, he doesn't.
I mean, when that season comes in Starbucks, I avoid Starbucks.
I know you don't.
Like, I'm just like, I can't stand
You
it.
don't deal with that.
That's just me.
but I don't drink coffee, so I wouldn't have had that.
I wouldn't be able to survive like that.
Oh.
I live off Coke Zero and like
That's right.
Monster Zeros. It's not good.
Do you drink the white monsters?
Yes,
That's what Jose drinks.
Yeah. Shout out Zach Santos.
100%. Our life has been shortened at least by 12 years
Yeah,
by drinking those.
you guys are the same. Coke Zero, white monster.
In
Yep.
6 years, it'll come out that it's the most cancerous product we've ever put in our body. Yet I will still drink it because
Yep.
there's nothing that gets me going quicker.
He's got a stockpile going.
Marching season, White Monsters. So what led you to leave San Saba?
Saba.
So a lot of people thought I would retire there, and I'm like, dude, I've been here 5 years. Like, give me why am I going to retire from somewhere I've been here 5 years? But I invested my whole life. Like you say you invest in something, like everything, because, and not that it's a lot different now. I didn't have a wife. I didn't have any kids. Like, it was me and band. Like, we were married, and I was determined to make San Saba something. And like I said, we started out with the 2-2-3, and we went through some years of sight reading with threes. Always made a 1 on stage. But when we got a sweepstake with the middle school, so when I started, there was 2 band directors, right? And there was 85 kids 9 through 12, and it went down to 26 kids in 9 through 12 in 4 months. So I was like not in good shape from that perspective. And we'd made a 2-2-3 in marching season, and then finally in concert season we made a 1-1-2. And the principal at the time that had hired me, ironically enough, was the son of the superintendent that hired John Young. Think about that for a second. The principal that hired me was the son of the superintendent that hired John Young in Wills Point.
Small world.
Yeah.
Very much so. And that kind of tells you how I ended up with that. He called me up and goes, Cyrus, you come through for me. I was worried about you. So, 5 years later, we got the first sweepstakes in history there for middle school and high school and made the state. So, I was bought in. So I got this call from a guy, he was a superintendent there, and he was like, hey, man, we just want to meet you at tmea and talk about what you did in San Saba. And I was like, okay, we'll do that. This is 2013. And I thought he just wanted to talk about the band. I get there and I'm like, this is sort of like an interview. And he called and I was like, hey, I'm going to turn it down. Like, I'm invested here or whatever. And he's like, all right, whatever. So then he called back again and says, hey, I'd like you to come out and see Tenaha. I'm like, where's Tenaha? And I'm looking it up. I'm like, that's in military land, like military marching. I said, I don't know anything about that. And that's East Texas. And I'm going to be honest with you, I did not like deep East Texas at that time. I was like, that's way out in the middle of nowhere. That's too close to Louisiana for me. So forth. Anyhow.
And where do you currently live?
Well, I live in Carthage, and I go down to Tenaha.
So you live in the deep south. Have you ever seen the movie Bernie?
Yes, I have. And it's very much talked about here. I had not seen it until last year. I've been at Tenaha in the Carthage area for 11 years, but yeah.
So it's talked about still in the town. What is the lore of that, like, in the community?
They talked about how much of a good guy he was, and they could not believe it. And now it's like, we don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I bet
it's bad. Yeah, it's not good. I actually know people that knew him. I know people that were one of the cops that worked he's one of our resource officers now in Tenaha. He actually worked in and around the case. And he said he was involved with his wedding, sang at his wedding, everything. So yeah, it's pretty intense.
Wow. That's nuts.
I basically came to Tenaha because they had gotten a 3 the year before. And the guy that was in charge really wanted to be middle school, which is now in a middle school band director and doing a very good job. But they wanted to switch to core and so forth. So I was like, and I turned down that job 3 times in Tenaha, and it was a 100% pay increase basically. And I didn't have any assistant band directors. And then there was 2 assistant band directors, charter buses, which are used, which is a conversation for maybe later. But, and I was like, man, I want to take on the challenge. I want to do it again. I want to take over a program that needs to get back on top. And, cause Tenaha was good. And the band director before me had done good. It was a really bad run in a very cold region contest the year before, and it was unfortunate, but they just wanted to change directions. He wanted to change, I think, and I was like, yeah, well, let's try this. I was like, I want to take on the challenge of doing something I've never done before. And for a long time, I regretted it. For about 2 years there, I was like, why did I leave a state competing finalist band that I had built from the ground up to take over a band in the middle of nowhere, East Texas? I'll never forget a friend of mine, and I'll say Danny Roshaber. You know Danny and John Roshaber?
Yes.
At the time, they were in Fredericksburg. I think the world of them. And Danny said, I don't want you to go over there and ruin your career. Later on, I called her up and I said, well, I guess I didn't do that. But at the time, and she still is a mentor of mine, her and John, and had it play in the back of my head, you're going to ruin your career, you're going to ruin your career. And I'm over here going, maybe I ruined my career. I should have stayed in San Saba. So now I think to myself, what would have happened if I stayed in San Saba? Who knows, right? John Schreiber would have still been kicking my butt. But other than that, so what would have happened if I stayed in San Saba? And would I have made it to Midwest and honor band and stuff and won a state championship in march band? I don't know, but it was the time there. It was pretty rough.
So real question, is there a DQ in Tinahall?
No, there is a DQ building that I think used to be a DQ that is now a donut shop.
That's kind of what John said, too. He thought Burger and Walk used to be a Dairy Queen. But that's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Small town America where we either have a DQ or we used to have a DQ.
Yeah, we didn't even have a DQ. We just had a post office and a store that you could buy. It was like it wasn't even a convenience store, but half of it was a bar. So everything in the store smelled like smoke. Like if you bought whatever, a bag of chips, it tasted like cigarettes. So
back when you could smoke.
Yeah. So that's all we had. We didn't have a Dairy Queen. Now they have a Dollar General. So they've moved up in the world.
Yeah.
We didn't even have Dairy Queen or anything. Just a post office and a bar / not even convenience store.
What's your DQ order? Blizzard or otherwise?
For me?
Yes, sir.
I'm still a chicken strip guy. And I love the gravy from Dairy Queen. And the chicken strips are bad. But I'll tell you one thing from DQ that many people don't think about is their tacos. Their tacos are pretty good. And their nachos, I don't know. It's something special. But let me tell you, the weirdest thing I've ordered from Dairy Queen before, which, by the way, they have one in Carthage. But I rolled down the window. I'm like, okay, I want a hamburger, but I don't want hamburger meat. And they're like, what? And I was like, I want you to put taco meat on the burger.
Oh.
And then put shredded cheese on top. On a bun. And they're like, what? And I'm like, I want taco meat on a bun. Because I had seen it before. It kind of goes back to watching Roseanne and the loose meat sandwiches. But
yeah.
It's really good. It's really good. And they won't do it for me anymore. And so it makes me want to just go in and be like, just give me the taco meat in a bowl, in a bun.
My mom and I talked about the tacos the other day. She went on a long rant about the tacos at Dairy Queen.
So that's funny. So I was down in Corpus this past week and I went to pick up a country basket and 4 tacos.
You went to Dairy Queen and didn't tell me?
I'm sorry.
That's not
Where
good.
did you go to Dairy Queen?
This right off the road next to my grandmother's.
In Corpus?
Yeah.
This is sort of like a domestic dispute right here, but a discussion.
I didn't know that this
I'm a
happened.
part of it.
Welcome, Brian.
Yes. And as far as blizzards, I like Heath blizzards. Heath bar blizzards.
Good choice.
It's got the caramel, and they really are. Not many people get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so no Dairy Queen in Tinahall, Texas. The Dairy Queen has been overtaken by the donut place. It may or may not have a water leak in the back.
So can you tell us about how you transformed that program to what it is now?
Well, when I got to Tinahall, again, I turned the job down 3 times. And I'm talking about pay raises, everything, because I was that invested in my San Saba Armadillo band, the Dillos. I was all about it. And I cried like a baby when I told those kids that I was leaving. Could barely talk. But so when I got there, they had sort of in 2005, reversed a little bit further than that. The Tenor Hall did not have a band before 1987.
Whoa.
Maybe like in the 40s, and then they disbanded it. In fact, Denny Whitley still tells me to this day, he was the band director in Timpson, Texas, down the street in 1976. And he said he was at a homecoming game with Tenor Hall, and they didn't have a band. And the superintendent walked up to him and says, "We don't have a band, and we don't want a band. You want to buy the instruments from us that we have?" From like the 1940s. So that's where Tenor Hall has come from, the roots. And then finally they built the band hall in 88 and started kind of a sort of a band. But in 2005, Don Fallon took over and he wanted a band. He was determined that he would win a state championship. And people laughed at him, right? I mean, why wouldn't you laugh at him? And so he hired some people and they kind of built it up. And Rhonda Daniel, she's in Longview now. She's director of band in Longview, Texas. But she had been there and she was there from 2005, 2009. And she had taken them to state 2 times and got them. So she kind of got it started. And then Chris Conway took over and he kind of kept it going for a little bit. But I think Chris Conway prefers middle school band a little bit more. You know, I've talked to Chris a lot since then. And so I don't know if that's where he wanted to be or not. And so then after that, I took over. So it had kind of just leveled off for a little bit. And when I took over, they said they wanted a core style band. I'm like, you do realize you're in the middle of military marching band land, like all 4 corners around Tenor Hall. And I'll never forget, I took over and I felt like I was in an island in the middle of nowhere. And I had 2 supporters initially in East Texas, Rhonda Daniel, which at the time was at Timpson, and Doyce Grant, which runs Tater Music. And they said, "Hey, what do you need? We'll help you, whatever." But I'll never forget when I was being interviewed and I said, "Well, what do you want from Tenor Hall?" And they said, "We want a state championship." And I'm like, "Okay, well, that's cool. But like, what, like realistically do you want?" And they're like, "No, we want a state championship. This needs to happen." And I'm like, "You do realize that the band didn't do great in the fall," but I said, they're a military band and we're switching to core. Last year, they didn't make a first division in the military, and now you want to win a state championship in core? I'm like, oh, okay. In my mind, I thought I'll bust my butt to do it, but I don't know if it'll ever be possible. And I still think back to that conversation because they said it, and it embedded something in my head that was like, if I fail them my whole career, like I need to do this. But I don't chase medals. I don't chase championships. I just work my butt off. You know, and I just want to do better than I did the year before. And I was not going to fail, despite failing several times after I took the job. But, you know, and then we have the saying, it's not okay to be okay, which that's a whole story behind that. But that's a personal philosophy. Like, I feel like I'm mediocre, and I fight to not be mediocre. And so ultimately that push led us to, and it's escalated so much lately. And, but early on, it was just a fight to not be second division. In all honesty, it was a fight to not be second division. And so when they're like, "Yeah, we want a state championship," and I'm like, "You mean just a sweepstakes, right?" And they're like, "No, a gold medal." But you also have to understand the mindset of the administration at the time. First off, the superintendent was the outgoing superintendent, was a huge musician. He really wanted to push band. And the football team literally won a state championship and was runner-up in 12.
Wow.
And I'm coming in the fall of 14. Championships was expected. You know, I always joke with Zachary Sims, like the expectation in Shiner is to win a state championship in everything. Same thing in help me out, Salina, which happened to win a state championship in everything. But anyhow, yeah, like the first in, I think, ever to win one in band and football in the same year. So at that time, it was a huge culture of we wanted to be good at everything. So that's sort of what started it all.
I think having the community support is like a huge catalyst for like,
for sure.
I mean, and a lot of people don't understand the communities at all, and which causes a lot of issues.
Well, and the craziest thing is that you're just now starting to get a generation of parents with kids in school that actually were in band. still, when I was there, like so many people are either come here from a different town or maybe even a different country and had never been in band before. I asked my kids, it was literally it was a year or two after we won the state championship. And I was frustrated by something. And I said, how many of your parents were in band? Raise your hand. And I had about 70 kids in band at that time, 9, 12, with a few 8th graders. 3 kids raised their hand. 3 kids. And you remember, and this is coming from a town that only a few decades before basically had a superintendent said, we don't want a band, and we don't have a band, and we don't want a band. So it's not been a long-standing culture of quality bands in Tenaha. Really, that started in 2005. So yes, they support the band in Tenaha, absolutely, but it's not like Argyle, Texas, or Canton, Texas, or
it's not
or
like a blue
Hebron.
blood situation.
It's we like our band, we do, but it's not like we'll take over another country to save our band. Like it's just like we have a good band and we want to keep a good band. So admin really is the support.
And when Jose was at Robinson, still people around is like the big thing was like, oh well, my parent was in Tony Klein's Robinson band or that kind of thing. You just run into community members. And so there wasn't any of that at Tenaha for generations.
No, absolutely not. It was very novel still when I got there. This idea that a band was not bad,
Yeah.
And I got there and I had built the band boosters in Tenaha from. I literally had a secretary or a librarian at the school walk up to me like day 2 or 3 of school and was like, boom, and laid all of the books on my desk and was like, here's all the stuff from the band boosters. Don't expect anybody to help, and good luck. And I was like, okay. And we take that, and then 5 years later, we had $18,000 in the bank, and the year after I left, they bought a trailer. And we developed the San Saba Band Booster Promise, which gave every kid a scholarship. I don't know that they do that anymore. I have to call Chance and see, but that was just a thing. And then I got over to Tenaha and I was like, so what's the band booster situation? And the superintendent looked at me and he said, I am the band boosters, which by the way is an epic line.
Yeah, it is.
It's pretty much, I am the Senate, right? Like it's like a Star Wars epic Sith Lord thing to say, but he's like, I am the band boosters. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, well, what do you do if I need to get some funds? He's like, if you need something, ask and we'll get it. I was like, okay. It's the only time where somebody promised you something, Jose, and he's like, we'll give you $40,000 for new core instruments. We'll give you brand new uniforms for core within 2 years. We'll do this, this, and this. And you're like, okay, all right, well, I'll go, but sure. Every single thing he said happened. And that just doesn't happen. And you're talking about just Google Tenaha, Texas. My gosh. And zoom in and do your fingers like 45 times, and you'll finally see the town. And that is the antithesis of Tenaha. Admin is unrelentingly supportive of making sure the band is everything. Parents are like, well, as long as it's good, because they didn't understand at the time. So many of the parents have not had kids in band. Now, in my 11th year, it's a little different because you have siblings, and those siblings are pushing the younger kids to do it. And the parents are like, yeah, you got to do it because your brother and sister did it, right? But it took a long time to get to that point, and you sort of have to fuel that from a place that wasn't there at the time. But yeah, no, I mean it's taken some time, but once it gets going, it's just rolling.
Man, that's pretty interesting to know just kind of the history of that and like how you've helped push it in that direction. You have some interesting facilities there, don't you?
I do. So I'll never forget when they were interviewing me or showing me. I realized it was an interview at tmea in 2014. I was like, wait, this is an interview. But they're like, hey, look at this. This is our charter buses that we have, which, by the way, are used. So you're like, oh, charter buses. And
I've
you're like,
seen
no,
those in your pictures, yeah.
Yes. They're like, oh, cool, charter buses. Like, no. Used charter buses. Like the air conditioner went out like day 3. And you're like, being in a charter bus without air conditioner is like no air. You're like, just let us pull over, bust the window out. I don't care. It's horrible. So he's like, here's our charter buses, and here's our high school, and here's our big like gym that's called a special events center, and it was really nice, like an arena. And I'm like, okay, cool. Where's the band hall? And they're like, oh, we don't have any pictures of that. I'm like, red flag, right? Like you're like,
It's like a bad online dating profile.
you're like, well, that's a basketball, but like, where's the band hall? So, but the band hall's pretty good, but the SEC is really nice. And I guess you kind of bring up the facilities from a standpoint of, I was like, back in San Saba, how do I explain this? When I first got there in San Saba, they did not have a required summer band. Okay. So we're going to do it. We got to have a required summer band. And it was between football practices. Football practice went from 6 to 9 a.m. in the morning, 7 to 10, and 6 to 9 at night. They're like, you can have the time between. So I'm marching outside from 12 to 2.
The best time.
Yeah.
By year 3, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So we rented the Civic Center, and we put down tape from the 35 to 35 in front has the front sidelines. And that's where we marched. Well, fast forward to Tenaha. They didn't have turf. They don't have a parking lot. There's no grass. I mean, there's grass, but there's like, have you ever tried to mark dots on grass and try to keep it? I'm sure you have and word them and so forth. But it just is awful. I was like, you know what? I called a digital performance gear up, and I was like, hey, you could put like a solar system on a tarp, right? Well, yeah. I was like, can you put a football field on the tarp? They're like, yeah, but we've never had that done before. I was like, well, I want a UIL football field on a tarp. Can you do that between these dimensions? Yeah. And so I guess we were the first one to ever do it. Now like a bunch of people do it.
I know.
Well, it all came from necessity. It wasn't, oh, it's hot outside. Oh, it was like my field's not marked, and it's August 1st. Like I have to put drill on. And but now a bunch of people have it. And I'm like, man, I should get like a royalty for that.
You should,
like,
yeah.
But I
just send an email.
To pay Brian Towers.
Yeah.
Sour style.
Sours
exactly.
Designs. Just put it. So anyhow, but you bring up facilities, but the SEC is so perfect because it's like walk 10 feet and you're in it. And so we'll use that for marching, and I'm over there with the brass marching and using fundamentals, and Shannon is over there running woodwind rehearsals in the music, and then we flip, and it's just really been nice to have. Other than that, I mean, we don't have turf. You know, our football field is called the Pit, and that's a reason, because that's where all the water goes in the town.
Nice.
It's straight there. But no, I mean, it's a beautiful high school on the front. You know, if you've seen pictures of it, it looks like a college, an old school college. But anyhow, you brought up facilities, and it brought me back to the tarp situation that really started from way back in San Saba, where I was like, I can't march outside from 12 to 2 or these kids are going to die, you know?
Yeah.
Anyhow.
That is absolutely crazy.
That is crazy.
I mean, seriously, you should send an email and be like, hey, I deserve I need some kick.
They need to call it the Sours tarp. Like the lined ones that they sell.
I mean, we've talked about getting one.
Brian's name on it, yeah. Jesus got one.
Jesus over in Cross Plain, you know, he reached out to me.
Yeah. See? Inspiration.
Yeah.
Frankston has one now, and I'm trying to think of all Millsap, I think, may have one. Or they talked about getting one.
Yeah.
Well, here's the one that was the first really one to imitate us. Was Rivercrest, which, if you know anything about 2A lately, they're pretty freaking good.
They're pretty good.
They are.
And again, like John Shriver, I met Elliot in 2021 at a OPS listing, and he was just now getting into head directing at Rivercrest. And remember, Rivercrest is a 3-3. It was like an absolute copy of what John did in 2020 or 2012 or 2013. And so I'm talking to him. He's like, hey, you don't know me, but I know you, and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh, okay. it's nice to meet you and everything. And he's like, and this is before we won the state championship. That was the year we won that fall. And we're at TBA that summer. And he's like, well, here's the show I'm doing. And here's the like all the props. And here's the show tops we're doing. And we're doing this. And he's like, here's your tarp. We're buying one of those. And da-da-da-da. And he's like, my goal is to like beat you eventually. And I was like, oh, okay. And he was being playful about it. Don't get me wrong. Elliot Ayo in Rivercrest is super like humble and stuff. But he was like, we're going to, like, my goal is to get to your level. And I was like, boom. I went back, swear to you, went back and met with the other two directors in Tenaha. And I was like, this guy, Elliot, is going to beat our butts in about 3 years. They're like, well, what do you mean? Well, I said, just know, take my statement. In about 2 or 3 years, he's going to be well past us. And in 2024 or 2023, he was. Hey, 3 years later, was state champion. So
We need to get Brian a crystal ball.
Yeah, I know, man. To place bets. I mean, that's the man.
call it.
I mean, I'm
When I
awful.
see it-
like that stuff.
I see it, and you just know, you can just hear and you can just see what's going on and go, that's different. That person shouldn't be doing that at their age, and they are. They're going to, because not everybody wants to teach in a small school, certainly not in 2A. But so when you hear a certain sound, you go, okay, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I really thought that way of John for a long time, that he was a mover and shaker in the field. I still do. And that's the way I feel about Elliot Ayo. And when I say in the field, I guess I mean 2A.
Yeah.
You realize, Jose, that I won in 2021 with no color guard, no marching drum line, a placed drum line in the back, and no fluff. And this year, he forced me to basically go get a color guard. I was like, I want to do this. Like, I won without it. I don't want to have a color guard. But Elliot Ayo has pushed 2A division to a whole new level. And it was only a matter of time. But now I'm playing catch up. Like, I'm trying to evolve and stuff like that. And so whereas he was mimicking a lot of the things Tenaha was doing to make Rivercrest better, now it's kind of flipped in the marching side. So I think pretty highly of him.
That's interesting how that works.
Yeah, I mean, we're all students, and the moment you decide not to be a student anymore is like the moment you become extinct.
Yeah. And I talked to you. We were doing a judging gig. Was it Region 7?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were talking, and you were showing me all the stuff you were doing at marching band, and you were kind of telling me we're taking it to the next level this year. And I love the decoration on your field with all the colors that came off of I think it was flowers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you had told me we're really evolving. You said we're taking that next evolutionary step. And that's the way it is. But at some point, it feels like the beast is starting to take over.
Yeah, it gets a little overwhelming at that time. That's for sure. I mean, I told this several people. The moment those props showed up at my back door, I sat at my desk and I said, "Oh, I've made a decision, and I'm afraid it was wrong."
I thought that was the day that you were just gonna have a heart attack in the band hall, and that was just gonna be the end of that. But luckily, it
Props
didn't
are the bane of my existence.
happen. Yeah.
We literally had to buy another trailer just for props. I mean,
Yep.
it is again, and we had very little props that year we won. That's how much marching band has evolved in 2A in that short amount of time.
That is a short
So-
amount of time for all of that change.
And I call Elliot all the time. I say, I blame you for everything. If you're upset because we're spending more money, if you're upset because you have to buy more stuff and carry more trailers and carry more crap, I said, that's your fault, dude.
Yep.
I was content with winning with nothing else. Like, we weren't spending nothing. We were just playing instruments and marching, dude. And anyhow, but it's been fun. I needed to grow. And that's, if you're not willing to evolve, that's a problem.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Can you tell me about your hat? I've been dying to
Yeah.
know.
Yes. So, you know Travis Hobson?
Yes.
I went to a San Angelo marching festival. I did not have the band in it. It was 2010, I think, maybe 2009. And I looked out there and I saw this guy with a cowboy hat on. And I'm like, that guy's a boss. And his band was really good. Well, it was Travis Hobson with the Wall High School Band. And the Wall High School Band was it in that classification back then. Super clean marching, super clean playing, dynamics to the moon. And I said, man, that's cool. And I really didn't think much about the hat, to be honest with you, but I was like, man, that's cool. And then Tommy Perkins had a cowboy hat. And I'm like, I guess this is the thing in this area. Like, you got to wear a cowboy hat. Well, at the time, I was like, whatever. I'm not a hat guy. I've never been a hat guy. And it's silly that you bring this up, but I really didn't like ball caps. And if you can believe it, when I was in high school, I was super, like, obsessed with making sure nobody messed up my hair. If only I could see in the crystal ball then, right? Like, which my head is pretty much a crystal ball now. But, like, at
That's
the time,
what it
I was like,
is.
my hair
That's
was
why he knows
super perfect.
everything.
My hair was super perfect combed in high school with like hairspray. And if somebody touched it, it would just like stick up and not ever be able to be fixed the rest of the day. And I'm like, don't touch my hair. Well, so my hair just went away. I guess I got so scared of being touched. I like lost friendships over people touching my hair. So when I was younger, but fast forward, and they're all wearing cowboy hats. And I'm like, maybe I should get a cowboy hat. Well, I put on like a cowboy hat and I'm like, this looks like a bucket on my head. Like, this does not look right. So I was like, let me see that one. And it was an Aussie style, like for almost a fedora type thing,
Yeah.
like an Indiana Jones. And I put it on and I was like, oh my God, I'm the Undertaker. Like, so it was like a whole mix of, I wanted my own thing. And I guess maybe that's where sour style really started too, other than the hat birthday thing, is I was like, they've got cowboy hats, but I've got a cowboy hat and it's my style. So I was like, I got to fit into this Central Texas, West Texas vibe. And so I got to get a cowboy hat. And so I started wearing it to games and stuff. And then that year we made straight ones. It was because of cowboy hat. And we made the state the next year when we were eligible to, because, it was every other year back then. I was like, it's a cowboy hat. We made finals. I was like, it's a cowboy hat. And anyhow, so Travis Hobson to this day doesn't call it a real cowboy hat. He says, Cyrus, you need to get a real cowboy hat. I don't know what that is, but it's like, I'm like, dude, let's let me alone. So anyhow, so it was sort of the Undertaker, but also marching band people that were really good at the time, and merge all that together, stir it up, and add sour style to it. Boom.
You said to Photoshop his head on 50 Cent. I think it's going to have to be the Undertaker.
At this point.
It might, either one would be pretty hilarious. And so
Both.
really between that and like, if you see me, and I'll put this down for a second, I know you can't see it on video right now, but this is really what you see 98% of the time, and that's sunglasses on the top of my head. So I used to just take the hat off, put my sunglasses on, and I wear my sunglasses almost every day just so when I go outside, I can immediately put them down right. Well, two things. First off, when you do that, you have huge dents on the top of your head for where the nose pieces sit. And I'll tell you a story about that in a second. But when I take my sunglasses completely off and the kids see me, you'll be so amazed. Like a 5th and 6th grader will just stare at me and I'm like, are you all right, dude? And they're like, are you like balder today? Like you look, they say you look more bald today. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
You have less hair.
And I didn't forever understand. I'm like, why are you saying that? And even my high school kids are just looking at me, and I'm like, why are y'all looking at me like this? And they didn't know how to say it, right? Because they're high schoolers. They're not going to be honest that, like, you look balder today. They're just going to be like, I don't know. And I realized when I didn't wear my sunglasses to class, kids thought I was, like, they realized I was bald. I don't know why that changed it, but so I'm identified by my sunglasses and my hat. So if I walked around tmea and I don't have either one of those on, they're like, hello, sir. Where do you teach? Like they don't know. Like, who are you?
That's how he goes incognito places.
Yeah, don't you have like a photo of you sitting in like this royal chair with your hat on and everything?
So that all started like one time we did a hype video when we first made it to state or whatever. And that was the first time, if you believe it, I think I might have wore it one other time. But I kind of put the hat to rest after saying Saba, like it was East Texas people are just looking at you like, well, what are you doing, dude? And so like, we went back to state, and there's literally a video in 2020 of me dusting off my hat and putting it back on, and it was like, see you in the dome, and I swiped the brim of my hat and all that stuff. And it was like the comeback, 2004 Undertaker Circle, whatever. So like, like, we're bringing it back. Bringing back the hat. We're going to do it again. And just started building that back. And so that's sort of where that came back from, in the hot videos from there. So kind of lost track of what the question was. But basically,
Just the hat.
yeah, the hat. And so, I was like, I'm just going to keep wearing the hat. But I told him, I said, I'm only going to wear it in the dome.
Okay.
Like, you have to make it back to state for me to put the hat back on. So now I wear that area, whatever. But ultimately, now I kind of wear it because I don't want to get my head burnt. Because when
yeah.
my head gets burnt, it's like a huge tomato. And I'm like, I don't want to die of head cancer. Like skin cancer on the head.
Yeah.
It really is a thing, man. Like, I'll never forget. That was one of the reasons I got a hat, because I started shaving my head, and Travis Hobson was like, dude, you need to get a hat.
Isn't
You need
Travis
to cover
also
your head.
bald?
He is now, yeah. Yeah, no, he was at the time. And he's like, you got to protect your head, dude. But he was a cowboy hat wearing fool before that.
Oh, yeah. He was very cowboy.
You know how in Mean Girls they say that's why her hair is so big, it's full of secrets?
Yes.
It's Brian is bald because that's where his clairvoyance is. That's how he can see the future.
I've never thought about it that way, but I will tell my students that tomorrow.
Yep.
Well, like, so one of my earliest memories of Brian is actually, and this is like so interesting to me, because Brian's different in the way he does things sometimes. And so we taught sectionals.
I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing.
Oh, that's great.
That could go
That's
down
great.
a very dark path. But
So Brian and I are teaching sectionals for the All-State band. And I just see Brian walking out of his sectional with the brass players, but just holding rolls of toilet paper. Just like, what is happening with these rolls? Like, I'm a tuba player. He's a tuba player. And I'm just sitting there going, toilet paper.
And I don't exactly remember. I don't remember that. And now I do. And I really like, you forget about things, but I distinctly remember that now, because I was like, I'm going to use this toilet paper to show them how I don't want you to sound like crap. Because if you blast, and I had a whole like analogy situation with the toilet paper, and I can't for the life of me right now to remember, but it was something like, don't make me clean this up with toilet paper, like you can't blat or something. I don't remember, but I was on a huge like toilet paper analogy kick at the time, and so I was like, I'm going to use these with these students too.
I mean, you should have saved it for 2020, so you could have sold all that toilet paper for profit.
Yeah, I should have saved it. And I can't tell you how much toilet paper I wasted, and that probably would make anybody in 2020 cry. Like, they were like, he just threw away so much toilet paper. But and then this is the same guy that was conducting in Chicago. So that's the embarrassing part of this whole conversation, right? Like, I literally am carrying toilet paper into a sectional with all state students.
You should have put that on the Midwest program. The cover is just...
Do you know, Jose, that is such a cherished memory that I had forgotten about, and I'm so thankful you brought that back up. But I very much remember you being the 4A tuba guy, and I think that it was the first time I met you in person.
That might be it. I feel like I met you because you came to a marching contest in Region 8.
Yes.
Because I remember you telling me that performance would have held up in East Texas.
Was that when you were in Wortham?
That was the 1 year I was in Wortham. And I didn't know you, but you just straight up walked up to me. You're like, that would have held up in East Texas.
And all of those schools there used to be terrible. Wortham, Italy, Region 8, East Region 8, and it's getting so much better now. And it starts with people being willing to go there, like you and others. And if you got to set the standard somewhere. You've got to stop the bleeding. And you set that up. And then here comes Mark. He comes in and does some more. And then what? Was Henry there, right?
Oh, I'm not too sure.
Weimer. the
Oh,
other
yeah.
W school that was terrible before he got there. So, all of that stuff. But I remember distinctly the tuba sectional working with you and going, uh, which I'd already kind of knew about you and stuff, but that was the first time I kind of have a conversation, and I didn't realize you were funny. Like you just like if you see you walking down the hallway or whatever, you're just like, he's serious. Like you're not gonna don't mess with him. But then you just talking to him, and I was like, dude, he's just cutting like 12 jokes. Meanwhile, I'm holding like 4 rows of toilet paper, just looking like a fool. You know what I mean? He knows how to
That's just
play
one
the
of my favorite
tuba.
memories. Like,
He knows
really?
how to play the tuba, and I'm just making it. Alexa, I had a trumpet for tuba sectionals. I'm a tuba player, and I had so disliked playing tuba by that point. I was like, I'm just going to carry a trumpet and demonstrate. If I need to demonstrate something, I'm going
That
to do it on
says
the
a
trumpet.
lot. Yeah. That's
I mean,
Um,
teaching tuba or teaching things on tuba is not fun. It's not fun.
no,
You need
it's
to
like you're
carry some toilet paper around with you too. Because yesterday, when you were doing that clinic and you were talking, you were like, "Don't poop yourselves," and they thought that was so funny. And now you just need to carry that around with you.
Yep.
You need to take a cue from Brian Sowers.
Might have to do that.
Yeah.
toilet paper is what I want to. You want to die on that hill, but whatever.
Hey,
It'll be
it's
super charming.
it's apparently stuck with him for all this time. So
But you don't want toilet paper to stick.
Toilet paper, it won't stay. But yeah, but no, that was good times. So I had totally forgotten about that. Man,
Still trap this one.
dang.
Well, Brett, you've had a crazy year. So what
that
has
silence that
possessed
you
you?
heard was everything.
What possessed you to take on this whole entire?
You feel like possessed is the accurate word.
You were touched.
Yeah, and something I don't know what it is, but it all really started building back in 2021 when we won the state championship. And I will tell you, Shannon's office, which is the middle school director in Tenahall, and well, it's like an office and a woodwind room at the same time. And I'd come out of the restroom or whatever, and I sat down and I said, "This is 2021." I sat down and I just flopped down in the chair and I said, "Shannon, I feel like we're good band directors. So I feel like I'm a good band director, but I don't think I'll ever be a state championship band." And we just went on talking about something else or whatever. And I told like two or three other people there, like, we're really clean marching. We're really good playing, but we don't have color guard. We don't have marching drum. Like, we're going to be really good. We'll always be good, but not state championship. And we won it that year. And that sort of started a trend because then we were invited to TBA, right? And it's like, okay. And my kids got a little bit more pumped about it. And then we kind of carried on a little bit. And then we were invited as the first invited ensemble for tmea, which you know that process now because you were on the board too. You were on the board to choose it. So, and I think you're considering doing it. Like, you understand that process. And so I was like, okay, that's cool. And so we get to the fall, we were working up American River songs. And I had gone to Midwest in 2023. If my ears are right. Yep, 2023. And that was before we performed at tmea. And Tyler Junior College was the first junior college to ever be invited to Midwest. So I was like, I'm going to go watch him. I know Jeremy and Jeremy Strickland. I'm like, I want to go and support him, and I've never been before. So I went, and I went to the small school clinic, and I ran into Stan Malden, blah, 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 blah. Fast forward, we were already working on American River songs, and I'm like, why not? I'll try it. We'll. Initially, my plan was to go as the clinic, right? Like the invited ensemble for tmea. I was just going to do it at Midwest, try to apply for that. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do what nobody else is willing to do. I'm going to try for the small school thing. And so we tried it, and we made it. Of course, I already knew that we wanted to do honor band. And I had told my administration, I'm like, yeah, well, we have a snowflake, not a snowball's chance, but a snowflake chance in Hades of getting invited to Midwest. It's like prestigious. I'm like, we're not getting, they're going to look at our town and be like, no. And I said, and then honor band, you never know. So we get in, And she goes, okay, whatever. And I said, we got invited to Midwest. Well, our budget changes over in July. And we got invited to Midwest. I can't believe it. And she goes, oh. And I said, but the likelihood that we'll get invited or that we'll win honor band in the same year is like 0.00002 infinite point one, whatever. And she goes, Ron, every time you tell me this, you end up doing it. So I'm just going to put it in the budget. I'm like, whatever. I said, but it's not likely to happen. I said, it's very hard to win honor band in its own right because it's just like the perfect judges and the perfect timing and where you fall in the run. Jose, you know what I'm talking about. Like, judging is subjective, and sometimes it's all about where you fall. And I'll be darned if I walked into that room, and you've been there too. Like, you walk in the room and you're like looking kind of from a distance to see if you can start finding your name, right? Same thing in area and state marching band. You're looking for your name, right? Like, where's it falling? And you start at the bottom. Maybe I'm pessimistic, but I start at the bottom. I'm like, okay, how far from the bottom are we? But this time I just glanced at the sheet and I immediately saw Tenor Hall at the top, and I'm like, oh my God. And Mike Howard is like looking at me with his mouth open, and I'm looking at him, and he's like, you got a busy year. And I was like, what? Like it was just really, and anyhow, but it was crazy, man. You have to understand, and I've posted this on Facebook. I'm not a great musician. I don't think of myself as this master musician teacher. I'm from Elmo. I don't myself as a better band director as anybody. I just feel very average, but I just work really hard, I guess. I don't know. And that's the way I tell my kids all the time. I say, guys, I'm so much dumber than everybody in here. I said, when I was in school, I wasn't smart. I just did my work and worked hard. And like, if they told me something would give me extra credit, I would do it, But it was a crazy experience because you come off of that invited ensemble, and the thing was here, Jose, invited ensemble is in February, right? Same as honor band. And you're trying to get these songs ready. And I call up Coachman. I'm like, so I'm applying for honor band this year. Can I start like before December 1st? Because I'm trying to get this music ready for this first ever invited ensemble. And he's like, nope, you can't start your music until December 1st. I'm like, but I have to put on a performance in February. And he's like, I don't care. Can't start before December 1st. December 1st was a Friday. I'll never forget it. And I'm like passing out the music for American River songs. I'm like, we've got 6 weeks to learn this, guys. Like, come on, you guys will mark your music. And I mean, it was crazy. And to think you sound like Tenor Hall. We should have never been performing in Chicago. And my kids still to this day don't understand what they've done.
I mean, that's going to be an experience they're never going to forget. I mean, I'm not involved in this whatsoever, but I'm looking at it from the outside looking in and going like, I'm never going to forget that because like, that's such a cool experience. I mean, I'm thinking about like two-way school kids who sometimes never get out of like their hometowns are going to Chicago and going to San Antonio and not just like one thing. So you were at the state marching contest this year. Yeah, so there's one thing. Then you have to travel to Chicago and like the fundraising that Al has to go into that. Boom, you're there. And then next week, you're doing honor band performances.
And most people would think, man, honor band is super stressful. I'm thinking we're more prepared for honor band than anything we had done before. Like we had plenty of time. Midwest was the thing that I was most stressed about. And you know what? 30% of the thing I was scared most about is will our buses make it there and back? And they did. I got back, and I know you saw my Facebook post, but I got back and I praised the ground. I was like, thank God we made it there and back with the buses. Anyhow, but no, it's here honor band to Midwest. That's the great thing too. You get to compare it immediately, and in some cases, Midwest is better. In some cases, tmea is better. I will say, it's nice at Midwest because they have already rehearsal facilities ready for you. in ballrooms, you can borrow their percussion for performance and practice. And they have like this homeroom thing where you can store your instruments. So that's kind of inconvenient for tmea, right? Like, and tmea is like, get your truck in there and get out. Get your buses in there and get out. Go, go, go. This is like Operation Storm. And I love tmea. And obviously they've got all-state bands and there's 30,000 musicians and all that stuff. Like, I get it. But Midwest kind of is more organized and like keeps you on a timeline and tells you exactly what you have to do and when you got to do it. And tmea, and maybe tmea shouldn't be that stringent, right? Like, the one thing that was stressful about Midwest is you have to choose specific types of music. 50% has to be from the last 2 years. You can't play anything from the last 2 years. You can't play anything another ensemble's already picked. And it's like a rat race. They open the portal and you're like, I want this one. And you're like, it's already taken. It's like the worst, like, playground draft you've ever had in your life. Like, you're just like, oh man, that one's already gone. Oh man, that's already gone. Or like a Black Friday or something, like all of it's already gone. And so that was super stressful. Other than that, man, it was just really well organized in Midwest. And that's the one thing I'll never forget that is really cool is we didn't have to pull around our big percussion items and stuff like that. It's just different, of course. And then you're talking about tmea and you get to perform in Lila Cockerel on this really nice stage, whereas in Midwest, you're in a ballroom, right?
Yeah.
So both are unique experiences and cool in their own right. I had to keep telling myself, Brian, just stop and enjoy it. And people say that crap all the time, and they're like, you say it that way too. People say that crap all the time, like, but it's true. You had to stop and say, I'm never going to do this again, right? I probably will never do this again. I need to enjoy the moment. Meanwhile, you're like, why are you doing that with your instrument? Like, you're in Midwest and you're pretending like you're golfing with your trumpet. Could you not do that on stage? Whatever. Did you literally just cuss like 5 seconds ago? You're on stage, dude. Like, chill. But, you're dealing with discipline issues at the same time and trying to enjoy it. And then you leave and you're like, man, I wish I'd have taken a picture with just like my staff, right?
Yeah.
Like, you forget to take a picture with your staff under the Midwest sign. And I told Jen, when I got back, I said, one of my biggest regrets is we didn't get to take a picture as a staff underneath. Yeah, I took a picture with this composer and you did too, or whatever. But we didn't take one together, and it's just, anyhow, just stuff like that. But it's been a pretty blast. I will say one thing before I continue. 12 concert pieces in the middle of marching season is a type of tired and misery I don't know that I wish on a lot of people in small schools. It's bad for anybody to try to prepare for it. But when you're talking about, I don't select anybody. Like, I don't have a top ensemble and a bottom ensemble. It's everybody.
Right.
Like, everybody. And 50% of the band of the high school is in band in 9 through 12. And we had 8th graders to fill out our percussion and our clarinet sections. So, you're taking everybody, all comers. We almost pulled a 2 in marching season, Jose. Like we're talking 8 years. We won a state champions, 8 years of first divisions. We've won a state championship. We've been there 5 times since, or been there 5 times to finals. And I'm looking 2 weeks out, and I had the worst marching run at a contest of my career. If you don't believe me, ask anybody that was at the Teague contest on October 5th. Ask Beeson from Bosqueville. Like, ask Colin Anderson. He'll tell you it was. They all looked at me like, "Yes, how's everything going?" And they're looking at you like, "Good." And you're like looking at their eyes. You know what I'm talking about, Jose? Like, you're like, they're not telling me the whole truth, right? I mean, fell apart, ripped apart. We were on 2 different beats for 8 measures. The sound system was a disaster. I'm like on the bus ripping my students. And there was like 30 bands there, and I'm ripping my students. Color guard coordinator calls me. We made finals. And I'm like, guys, you made finals, but you need to get ready. Anyhow, so like, it was just bad, man. And then the next weekend, for the first time in 8 years, in 6th grade through high school, we made a 1-2-2. For the first time, we've made a 2 in 8 years in any program. And I'm like, we're fixing to make a 2 in marching season. Now that was a pre-contest, right? But it
Yeah.
was 1 week out. One of the bands there's band director was the judge for us next week. So he's
Oh,
in the stands, Jose, listening, tenor hall. And you hear like a gasp in the crowd, right? And I'm like, oh my God. And the kid, one of my seniors was like, he's like, I've never gotten a 2 before. And I'm like, well, you just did. Congratulations. Like, I'm like, we got work to do, guys. And I'm like, man, that 2 was just spoken to the universe. I'm like, here we are, honor band, Midwest invited, and we're fixing to pop a 2 in marching season. So that tells you, man, like how much pressure of course, the show was really difficult too and all that stuff. But that was my biggest fear. I'm like, and you can't even make a first division. Like, who are you to be representing small schools, any of these places, So,
yeah.
um,
This is something I don't talk about very often. So I understand the stress that you're going through, that like in the marching season. So we didn't perform our full show until area marching contest, and we've done that for 2 years in a
I
row.
remember you talking to me briefly about this when we were judging together. Like you said you kind of had started developing a different system.
Yep. But yeah, this year, last year and this year,
Yeah.
we didn't perform the full show until area marching contest. And every single time, like the kids are like, why are we doing the full show? But it's like, guys, these 3 movements are really, really good. And then that one isn't. So why are we going to put that on the field right now if it's not up to the quality and standards of the rest of the stuff?
Well, and I remember distinctly telling my kids, because when you do Barry Hurt, which we actually did a Barry Hurt show last year, I kind of had like this nostalgia thing come over me. And I was like, 10 years ago in San Sab, I had a custom written show by Barry Hurt. He's not going to write music much longer. I want to do a custom show. Of course, then you get it February and you're like, okay, well, maybe I should change the how I did this, whatever. But I think the world of Barry, and we still made finals with his music a decade later, just shows you the longevity of what he was able to do. But I told my kids, I said, most of the time, our shows are ready by October 1st. Like I rounded off, right? Like maybe it's the first week of October, whatever. I said, but this year, I'm telling you, the show is not going to be where it needs to be until probably November 1st. And I'm telling them this, right? And I'm like trying to buy my own process. Meanwhile, in the first week of October, I'm panicking. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, oh, I'm looking at Sin. I'm like, we're going to get a 6. They don't even, we're way past 5 at this point. We're getting a 6. Like later on, my secretary at the high school was like, she was like, at one point, I was like, this ain't it. They ain't going to state this year. I don't know what they're doing, but this ain't it. I'll never forget one of my chaperones, long-term chaperone. She's been chaperone for the band for 20-something years and with me for 11. And she came out of the stands on October 5th in T, and I was like, she's like, I don't know what that was, but it wasn't it. And I'm like,
She's keeping it real.
That's how you know, yeah.
like, but I'm going, and meanwhile, I knew it was a disastrous performance. But no, you tell your kids one thing, right? You're like, guys, I'm just telling you, the process is not going to be complete as early as it used to be because it's we're getting more difficult. But I'm not even buying my own words. I'm like, that's really bad. Like, I'm scared. Anyhow, so I understand what you're saying on that point.
So what was your favorite part of Midwest?
The organizational process of it, man. Like, I didn't have to move like you'd walk in the room and they're already setting up your warm-up, your rehearsal hall. Like they've already got all the percussion items, all that stuff in there ready to go. You didn't have to stress about that. But I think the number one thing that I love so much about it is you turn around and almost every composer of every piece is standing in there in the rehearsal hall. Like, and I'm like looking around, of course, totally like not stressed out that I'm fixing to like miss a note in one of their songs, which I did in one of them. But like, I'm like, and getting them to come up and talk to the kids and they sign the program and stuff like that. Like I'm thinking, we're just tenor hall. Like, we're not Rouse. We're not Hebron. We're not Harbor Creek Middle School or Wiley Middle School or whatever. Like, we're just tenor hall. Like, we're country kids in the middle of nowhere. And There's Carol Britton Chambers and Randall Standridge and Evan Van Doren and all of them. Michael Orr, Julie Giroux, it just, that was cool. And again, we're all tired at that point and stuff, but that was a cool experience. It really was.
Well, that goes to show you that good teaching, hard work, and determination will overcome almost every situation. Like we had like wheels falling off marimbas and xylophones pushing onto like some marching contests, and our kids still pushed through and like did it. We had a prop break during an area prelims run, and that was the first time we had made state since 2008. And it's just like, if you teach them well and you give them the skills, they're going to perform at a very high level.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And everybody always calls me, they'll tell me, like, they'll be venting about something that their kids are doing. Like, well, but you don't understand. You've got your honor band on. I'm like, dude, just look behind the curtain. We're not any different. We're dealing with huge discipline issues where I'm like telling my tuba player, would you please like finally sit down and get ready for rehearsal instead of like slapping him in the back? Like, it's not different, and arguably worse because of the situation of my students and stuff. The parental situations and their home lives and so forth are different than that of a affluent community probably. So you're just like getting through and you're looking at all these composers and you're going, please don't like pick your nose in front of Julie Giroux. If you could not do that, that would be great. Or if you could not make some type of stupid comment about a TikTok video when, Evan Van Doren's talking to you. It doesn't ever go away. And it's a fight, constant fight for that. And I love my kids to death, but they get on my nerves to the end of the moon too, So, and they're hard to keep disciplined, and it's a constant process. So, but I really did enjoy that part of it. I had been to Chicago the year before, so I kind of already got to experience all that stuff with the pizza, right? With the massive amounts of cheese. And have y'all been to Chicago before?
Yes.
But they've never been to Midwest, but he's been.
Yeah, I want to go to
Chicago
Midwest
together.
It's expensive. That's the problem, right? Like, it's expensive to get there, but it's cool. But just the experience of Chicago. But by the way, they invited us in June to go for get to know the process and see the convention center and walk through. Chicago in June, amazing. Beautiful. There's like concerts in the park, like a rock concert was going on. Then you go stand, you're standing on Lake Michigan and there's like beaches. And you're like, this is beautiful. Chicago in December, it's like the apocalypse. The movie The Mist, like they're so dense with mist and you're like, is that a building? What street am I on? Am I going to get robbed? Like you don't know where you are, and it's so cold and it's miserable. It's not that bad, but it's like super misty and foggy and cold. And Chicago in the summer, man, that is it. Y'all got to go in the summer.
Yeah.
So,
we went
Midwest
together in March, so it wasn't like super cold, but it was chilly.
It's amazing, and the hot dogs are amazing. Like I had a Chicago dog, and I've had like a Sonic Chicago dog before, right? What's that?
Portillo's,
yeah.
Portillo's.
Yep, was that. I don't know if that's the one I went to. I went to a different one, but yeah, they're good, and expensive. One thing that surprised me the most is I took my kids downtown to see the Bean and the Magnificent Mile in the evening at like 4:30, which it was already dark at like 4:45, and let's stay here until like 9:30 or 10, guys, and we'll eat and all that stuff. Everything closed at 8 p.m. I'm like, this is Chicago, and all the stores and stuff closed at 8 p.m. That was one of the weirdest things. But no, you need to at some point go to Midwest. It's hard to plan for Texas band directors because of the state playoffs. You're like, what if we go to the state game, stuff like that. And Christmas concerts, trying to plan around that. But it's expensive, but it's certainly something I recommend.
Were you going to ask a pizza question, Jose?
Yeah. Okay, so what's the better pizza? Chicago style or New York?
I went to New York with the 10 All Band in 2015, but I don't think I ordered New York style pizza, but I remember ordering pizza and it was like the oven baked one, like a brick oven.
Mm.
And I didn't care for that too much. I really like Chicago style pizza.
Me too.
Yeah, has some
Really,
burst.
really, and not everybody does. And I didn't think I would like the sauce on top, but man, of course, a little bit of it goes a long ways. But it was good, very good.
Was there a particular place that you liked better
So I
than
went to
another?
Illuminati's once, and then
Uh-huh.
we went to Giordano's this last time, and there was another place, and I can't think of it, that I went when I went to Midwest the first time. But I've been to Illuminati's and Giordano's, and I mean, to me, it all kind of runs together, right?
I really like Illuminati's.
It is.
Yeah, it's good. Giordano's is good too, but I really
I
like
think
Illuminati's.
Illuminati's is just a touch better. I would agree.
Yeah.
So I know you haven't done the honor band yet, but looking at like the
I just
scope
had a
of the year.
sinking feeling, by the way.
Oh,
So we were like having these like wonderful moments of pizza in like Chicago in the summer. And then I all of a sudden remembered that I have to perform a concert in front of the most critical audience in the world
Uh-huh.
in a week's time. Thank you for that, Jose. I
you're
appreciate
welcome. We
it.
got to bring you back to reality.
Yeah, way to really bring it down there.
I was in these angelic feelings of like saucy pizza with cheese everywhere.
What would you categorize probably as the most special moment for you personally?
And this kind of ties in with Midwest too. You know, I always, and I know you've had this feeling too, and you're sitting there and you're watching Honor Band, and you're like, you kind of daydream, like you want to be up there, right? You want to do that and conduct and stuff. But I always said it's never going to happen, right? It's just a dream. And then you walk away and you think, well, what would I play? What would I do? Who would I invite? I think one of the special moments for me is obviously just to get to conduct on that stage. And with the Tenor Hall band, which I've spent so much time building, and again, a band that even in 2A, you don't expect. If you looked at if you just went and looked at the demographics and the statistics on page, 92% economically disadvantaged. Just so many things there. A 65% at risk 504 and 30% ELLs and all that stuff. But I think one of the special things is that John Young, which was my band director, right, guest conducted at Midwest and is guest conducting at Honor Band. And so that's really special. That's something, that's kind of a bucket list. And you only have a small window. You know what I'm saying? I hate to be morbid about it, but you only have a small window to get to do something like that.
Yeah.
And then one of my teachers from the University of Arkansas, the wind band conductor, conducted at Midwest, and that was special too. So I think that's one of the more special things, is getting to experience that with my band director. The reason I'm doing this, I would not be a band director today if it wasn't for John Young's.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, would you say that he's pretty much been your greatest mentor through everything?
Yes. I could always call him, obviously, Dale Stelzer, which still helps in San Saba today, retired from Lubbock Cooper Middle School. And he had just sent me a random email in 2013 when I was still in San Saba and said, hey, do you need any help with like sectionals or whatever? Let me know. And I was like, yes, because I was by myself. I mean, I was the only band director there. And he came and helped, and he was super critical and very firm, but I learned so much from him, and he still helped me when I moved to Tenor for several years, and now finally he doesn't make the trip over as much. But and then, but yes, John Young is obviously my greatest mentor. He is the reason I'm a band director.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that. Like my band director was the reason, like a big reason why I became a band director, and like what part of my philosophy is, and like pushing forward in that. What advice would you give to any young band directors?
A lot of band directors want to go, or a lot of people graduating from college right now want to go to the metro areas, right? They want to keep living their greatest life. They want to be around the nearest Sam's Club, Walmart, nice restaurants, places to eat, maybe even places to like party clubs or whatever for youthful life. But and I'm different maybe, but I wanted to go and be a head band director right off the bat. And in some cases that might not be a good idea, right? Because you don't know what you're doing. I mean, let's just be honest. And I think to myself, I probably would have been more successful ultimately in my life and a better band director had I started under a really successful band director as a mentor. But I also think to myself, if I wouldn't have gone to San Saba, would I be where I am today? It's hard work. I lived 35 minutes from the nearest Walmart, which at the time was like devastating. Luckily, I wasn't driven by social life and stuff. And I don't mean that I was like a recluse, but I didn't have to go and do a party scene or whatever. But I'd say that you're not going to know much until you start doing it in the job. Like everybody's like, well, college, just don't be surprised when you get to your job and you're the accountant and you're the trip planner and you're the nurse and you're the counselor. Like very little of it has to do whether you know the German sixth chord or not, Like you need to know how to lead, know how to motivate kids. I think that's my number one thing I would tell as far as trying to make kids successful. You have to know how to motivate them. What makes them want to do what you have to convince them to do what you are wanting to do, because most of them don't care, right? They just want free food and a trip somewhere. You know what I
That's
mean?
true. Yeah.
95% of them, and then you got the 5% that are like super band nerds.
Yeah.
But most of them just want to have a good time and they want to work. And a lot of them are doing it because they know you want them to do it, not because they inherently want to do it.
So what would you say, what else has helped Tinaha be successful other than your teaching and your staff's teaching?
100% the administrative support. 100%. That has been the number one fuel of our success, because if they basically say to it, I'll never forget the first year I worked there. Well, maybe it was the second. And they called me in the summer and I was like in Corpus Christi visiting my grandparents. And they said, hey, Brian, we have $5,000 left over in the budget. I need you to spend it by tomorrow at 2 p.m. I'm like, what do you mean? Like you have till tomorrow if you need new instruments or something, you need to get it taken care of. Oh, so like, no, you need to have it ordered, purchased, and paid for by tomorrow at 2 p.m. because we're closing the budget after that. And I'm like, oh, it was just stuff like that. And just like, they would say, okay, athletics, or we're doing testing today. Band needs to be flipped to last period so that they still have class. And we don't do it as much anymore, but we used to have an administrative meeting once a week. All the athletic director, band director, counselors, principals, superintendent, transportation director, whatever, we all sat in a room and had a meeting, and we covered the calendar, transportation requests, events for the week, practices for the week, and so forth. That was super helpful.
Yeah.
And I think that needs to be done everywhere. And I'll never forget, we have this thing called triangle philosophy in Tinaha. And one side of the triangle is academics, one side's athletics, and the other side is fine arts or band. And he always said it tilts in the direction of. So like when it's marching contest in the week or so before, we need to focus on making sure all kids are making band practices and nothing's getting in the way of that. Then if it's playoff season, we need to be focused on that. Then when we're having star testing, everything else needs to get out of the way. So I learned to not ask for an extra practice if it was star testing time, right? I'd be like,
Yeah.
we need to have an after school practice. No, you don't. We've got star testing next week. You'll need to have practice this week. But I'll never forget, my coach was like, we've got a district opponent this week and they're tough. And and the superintendent said, wait, now we've got band contest for region contest on Saturday. So, if he needs them, they go there. But we've got such and such no, stop. You didn't listen to what I just said. There's band contests on Saturday. They go to band. Period. Then don't ask again. Like it was just that it's just different. I had we have this thing called Holiday Hoops, and I'm sitting there washing dishes as we do this Tiger Cafe thing, and I'm working in the concession stand, raising money for the band. And I'm washing dishes. I've got like all the way down to my elbows in dishwater. And like one of the vice president of the school board walks up. Now listen, I know people are going to be giving you offers, but don't leave without coming to talk to us. Because literally, one of the things they told the new superintendent when he was hired is, do not do anything to mess with the band. Don't change budgets. Don't do this. Don't change anything. The band's doing fine. Leave it alone. So admin support. I mean, that clarifies basically admin support. And I tell people this all the time. I don't care how good of a band director you are. If the administration doesn't support what you're doing, you can't be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And, Jose, you're kind of dealing with a situation where you do have a really supportive administration, But not everybody has that, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I don't want to pick
and
on. I'm not going to say any towns' names, but I get calls all the time, and I'm like, you can't be successful when they don't want you to be.
Yeah. And that's where we all as directors have to figure it out on how to advocate for our programs, because I know in a different position that I was in, I wasn't well liked by certain administrators because their style of administrating was like everything ran through them. And I didn't understand that because I was a younger teacher. And because I've had that experience, I was able to learn that, hey, I need to check in with my administrators a little bit differently, or, hey, I need to have this type of conversation, or I need to know their ticks or the things that they favor versus, and kind of work within that system to eventually get them to understand where I'm coming from. But a lot of band directors don't have those type of conversations and those kind of advocacy points. It's a line in the sand. This is what we're going to do because this is what I do. Like, ultimately, administrators are going to worry about what they're supposed to worry about, which is like statistics. Are the kids passing? Are the kids coming to school? Are they doing this? What is the money doing? Those kind of aspects. And our job is to advocate for our programs and get them to see where we're coming from on our end.
Well, and when and I still have these moments where I'm a firecracker, right? And you pop off and you say your things, right? I don't care. Band is band, and that's all that matters, and whatever. But after I've gotten my administration degree, and I just think differently now. I'm like, what's the big picture? Like, it can't just be about band all the time. And I'm in a situation where I know the administration is they're gonna support us. So I just need to share and do the best I can. By the way, I still fail at that a lot, but I'm like, you gotta be a band. But anyhow, but yes, I agree with you on that. I have certainly become more mild-mannered as I've gotten older.
So is Jose. He's calmed down.
And he's like, did you see me like Tuesdays ago? Like,
okay.
No.
Okay. So let's get into this. Brian, can you describe a moment that you just, as the kids would say, and this is Gen Z talk, crashed, just rage quit, or just like had an explosion moment?
At least once a year, often once a month.
Yeah.
There is a couple of stories about me personally, and I have become better about living my Zen, Zen, and a certain drum major of mine who I just saw. She graduated a few years ago. She was one of the ones that was a catalyst for our program moving in the right direction. Josie Jackson, and another student named Olivia. Okay, they apparently have been listening to the podcast, and they've been waiting for this moment about my rage moment. And apparently, the one that is living with them is when I almost drop kicked a trash can from rage.
I have a question.
Reversal.
Where was this and what was the reason? And did it actually happen?
I was in the press box.
Oh, okay.
And the marching band, for some odd reason, had this organization within itself called the Diaper Gang. And what they would do is that there was a group of boys who would roll their shorts up to look like diapers. I don't know why.
And yet I know I have so many kids just like this, but go ahead.
Yeah. So do you want to guess what section it was?
The trombones.
The trombone section. Of course, the trombone section. So therefore, we're just trying to do a rep, and I'm just getting upset because there's talking on the field, and we're just not executing, and I just I lose my mind, and I kicked the crud out of this trash can, And I'm pretty sure they saw it from the field level all the way up into the press.
Oh, it did happen.
It definitely happened. And then there was
It
like,
wasn't visible
no,
though.
it was from a
Did you
distance.
pull a hamstring?
No, I did not.
Surprising.
Or break a toe. And well, there's also the story about like how I threw a chair one time. I like scooted the chair for like 5 feet.
It's amazing.
threw
It
a
goes
chair.
from scooting to he threw it so far it went out of the band all and hit a kid in like art class.
Yeah.
Right. And then he went over and like pouring the blood into a bottle to drink, you know.
Yeah.
It just it really gets crazy. I know at one point I remember jumping up and hitting the roof of a bus one time. I wear a tie to school a lot. And oftentimes I will take that off and throw it, which throwing a tie is sort of like throwing a feather from Forrest Gump, and it just like flutters around and softly floats to the ground. It's the most anticlimactic thing ever, but I just can't. I just get so frustrated sometimes. But it's that passion, Jose, that is what. So you don't want to throw a stand at a kid or something. That's not what I'm saying.
Oh, no.
Or you
We're
know,
out of the
literally
90s. The 90s were it.
or whiplash or something. But no, you know, you obviously don't want to drop kick a kid in the throat or anything like that. But you know, but that passion of come on, like you got to. I've had many yes of those moments over my career.
Is there a band director mistake that you've ever made?
Yes. So, entered kids in solo ensemble before. That was early on in my career, but like maybe I put the wrong thing in or whatever. And not me, but a assistant director I worked with a long time ago entered a kid. He was a freshman, and he entered him. He thought the tmea music. This was my first year teaching. Was like tmea has freshman bands, SIATSSB. So he went to contest with that music, so that was kind of rough. I mean, my biggest fear has always been enter a band into like concert and sight reading with 2 pieces by the same composer and be
Me too.
disqualified.
I've still worried
I will
about
check
that.
I will get up the night before contest, even though I've checked it 75 and a half times yesterday, just to make sure that the 2 of the pieces aren't the same. And my biggest other fear is to like take a kid that's ineligible or whatever to contest. And
Yeah.
I still freak out about that so much. And did I check it? And I check it again. The morning of the contest, I check it. And I've made very few mistakes with that, and never at UIL. I had to call UIL one time because I had a kid march in a Christmas parade that was ineligible. And they were like, don't do it again, But, it just, like, I'll tell on myself in a heartbeat. I'll snitch. I'm the snitchiest snitch on myself there ever was. So if I ever took a kid to UIL contest and they were ineligible, I'd be the first person to be on the news. This guy right here is an idiot. I'd be pointing at myself. And, he lost his award and everything for the kids. But that, I have made a lot of mistakes. I mean, I showed up late to a playoff game like my 3rd year in San Saba. Not because we took too long at dinner. And yes, I mean, and I can't even think of all the mistakes I've made. I'd have to have a whole lot more toilet paper rolls to clean up all the mistakes I've made. But this way, I mean, I hate programs. I will not ever do a shirt with kids' names on the back. I have a phobia. I'm not doing it because the minute you do it, like a kid moves in and like, man, my shirt, my name's not on the shirt. Or you kick a kid out of band in the middle of the season and they're forever on the shirt. So that's one big thing. But programs, I hate it. We had to do 2 this year, and 1 for Midwest, and it went all the way up to the wire. And you're tweaking and fixing these issues. The programs are in the middle of printing, and the kids go, such and such is not on the program. And we had checked like 12 times, and we'd sent the mistakes to them, but they didn't correct it. They didn't fix it. And we just moved on, right? And I'm like, oh my God. So like half the programs are wrong. And I called them and like, we've already printed 300 of them. I'm like, well, can you make the last 300 or whatever fixed? They're like, yeah, but it won't be. I said, that's fine. I can, at least the kids will have the right one, And it was like a bunch of misspells because she had retyped them all instead of copy and pasting. So if you retype a bunch of stuff, you're going to make typos.
Yeah.
But I thought I fixed everything. All the composers had signed everything, right? Like every composer they had signed by their name on this one program. And I look and I double look, and Carol Britton Chambers' name was misspelled, and she had it signed by it. It's supposed to be Brittin, and it was AN. And you don't know how many times we had submitted this on official documents to Midwest and Honor Band and everywhere, and me and Shannon were going back and forth. It's TTIN, right? Yes. 2 T's, yes. IN. And he did it with every composer, right? Like Randall D. Sanders, right? D with the D in his last name and whatever. And so I'm like, she signed right by it. There's no way she didn't see it. And it happens, man. But that was embarrassing. That was my latest mistake. So
Man, what's
anyhow,
something you wish people knew more about or just small school bands in general?
you have to take you can't be selective.
Yeah.
You can't be exclusive. You must be inclusive. You will not have a healthy band if you are going to try to teach like you're at a 6A school with a wind ensemble. They're not going to take lessons. They're probably not going to take their instruments home. They have very busy lives at home. They are probably babysitting their siblings, and the home life is exceptionally uneasy and dynamic at times. So you just have to be very patient and know that what will work in a large school setting is not going to work in 2A. But you have to be careful not to make too many excuses. A lot of times I have to look at myself in the mirror and go, Brian, you're making excuses for these kids. You just need to push them. These kids can do more than you think they can do, basically.
Yeah.
That goes all the way back to, I said I would never, ever play a grade 3 with a 2A band. I'm like, why would I do that? I don't have to. That's like saying you're going to do a triple somersault when you get up in the morning just to go eat breakfast. You don't have to do that. Why would you do that?
I'd like to see Jose
So
do that.
it's like, here I am, I'm going to play grade 3 and get a 2. Well, then won't I look stupid? And I had to learn to just push myself. And again, that comes from some competitiveness, right? But that's an example of it,
Yeah.
But you need to be inclusive and not exclusive. And you need to hold standards high, but there is a limit to what kids can do. And you know what I'm talking about because you're a bigger small school, but you're still small school. And you will share everybody. Accept it and get over it. You make them choose, you won't like the choice.
Yep. That is
Yeah,
very true.
Very true. So, Brian, you are also running for the ATSSB president-elect. Why do you want to serve in that position?
And this time last year, I wasn't, and I even told Mark, I said, I don't think I'm going to run. And he's like, oh, you run? I said, I don't think so. And then I had several people ask me about it and suggest that I do. And I looked at it from this way, and I kind of talked to you about this a couple of days ago, that I've been on the state board, executive committee, as 2A representative for 3 terms. Or 2.5 terms. This is my 3rd term, which amounts to about 5.5 years. And then I was all-state organizer for 3 years prior to that. And so it was just sort of one of those things where it's like, maybe it's time to, I don't think my time on the executive committee needs to end yet, because I still have more to give. And I care very much about the organization, but maybe it's time to let somebody move into the 2A row eventually, and it just seemed back, because I think I'm the 2nd longest serving member when it comes to the February on the executive committee. And, outside of the outgoing past president and Christina Smith, which is 2C. Everybody else is either leaving the board or already has or is newer on the board. And I'm like, it seems progressive in nature to move to that next step and allow some fresh thoughts to come in. But also, I have been in small school my whole life. I have taught in 2A my whole career for 16 years. And I just know my heart is about small schools. I mean, we were the first small school to go to Midwest. I'm advocating for that. I'm pushing it. Now it's opening the door for a lot more people to apply in the small school, which is 650 kids or less in 9 through 12. And that's just hard to do, but I just feel like I'm pushing and making strides that other people weren't expecting to be possible. And I just want to keep doing that for ATSSB, And here's my thing. When people call, I pick the phone up. When people email, I respond. When people text, I respond. I don't say I'm on vacation. I don't say I'm on a boat on outside of a glacier in Alaska. I can't talk right now. I'm gonna talk. I'm gonna talk to you. I'm gonna call you back as soon as I can, barring a rehearsal or a restroom visit or eating. I'm gonna pick the phone up. You know what I'm saying? And Mark probably will too. That's not what I'm talking about. But not everybody's willing to do that. Like, and you know what I'm talking about. You call some people sometimes and they don't pick up. They don't call you back. You text them, they don't respond. And you're like, well, why not? And then all of a sudden, Monday at 8 o'clock in the morning, they respond to you. Now, I understand work-life balance and all that stuff, but I'm just always going to do that. I don't say it's 5 o'clock. I'm not doing anything with band, and I don't put a time limit on it. So I just people call me all the time, and let's just talk about it, man. What's going on? And here's my experience, and I just enjoy talking shop, and a lot about what a president of ATSSB or president-elect would do is that, right? Let's talk about what's going to work. And I do that with 2A. I send out surveys and stuff like that all the time, which you wouldn't know because I send it to only 2A band directors, right? But
Well, I feel kind of isolated now.
You just want Brian to email you.
That's what it is.
Well, no, I mean, it's just like when people call me, I don't necessarily reach out all the time to other people. If somebody calls me, I'm either going to answer the phone and talk about that or call them back. And I oftentimes we talk for over 30 minutes. You know, it's just like tonight. I mean, obviously we're probably getting close to wrapping it up, but I'm just like, it doesn't bother me to talk. It's not like, oh man, this is my time, whatever. We need to be gone, or this summertime, man, I ain't got time to talk business. And I just feel like I could be an advocate and somebody that could talk to you and ask questions about stuff. But man, I told you this, and I told Mark this, and I told everybody I've talked to. I have no problem with speaking to Mark if that's what the membership wants. I think the world of Mark. He's done great things for ATSSB. He's done a lot for AT. He's in a lot of roles, which he's like, man, can you do one more thing? But right now I just think I've been on the board a little bit longer than Mark and stuff, and progressively it makes sense. But again, I think the world of him. I think he is a wonderful band director, understands ATSSB really, really well. So it won't hurt my feelings one bit. This ain't Democrat versus Republican or anything like that. We're in the same party for the same fight, and it's unfortunate that we're both running in the same year, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, but you do have the better facial hair.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's subjective, I guess. But but yeah, I guess, John Young speaking on my behalf, I'm going to say, screw all the things that we've done. Forget all that stuff. Anything, don't tell them about advocacy for small school. Just tell them Salvage has got good facial hair.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Well, when I ran for 2A 5.5 years ago, when he spoke on me, he called me Little Brian. Because he's like, well, I just know him as Little Brian, and I'm like sinking in my chair, rolling underneath. I'm like, oh my God. If he could not refer to me as Little Brian like I'm in elementary school again. But man, ATSSB is not going to lose, hopefully, with either one of us. But I just felt like it was time, man. 3 years as all-state organizer, and then 5.5 years on the executive committee for 2A. And I was on the committee during COVID, man, when we had to make the hard decision to go against tmea and put on that convention in Melissa. And I had to call all those Kathy Johnson and Rob and Stephen Moss and try to put together clinics that would get us CTE credit and stuff. Or am I saying that right? CTE sounds like something a grant for schools for like.
Yeah, it's continuing education.
Yeah. So basically, PD. Anyhow,
That's crazy.
I mean that's it, man. I have a lot of experience on the board, and I think I'm still ready to continue to serve, but I don't want to squat down on 2A forever.
I mean, I think that's great. I mean, I know both you and Mark, and I said this to Mark when we talked to him. I mean, both you are great candidates. You are both great people, and I think that's the most important thing is that you both bring a lot of experience and a lot of different views to the table.
Yes, 100%. And if either one that wins, the other one's going to be still on the board. I mean, it's not like, we're both going to continue to support and advocate for HSSB for as long as we're in those positions.
Yeah.
So,
Brian, what else do you like to do that is not band?
a lot of people say, well, I go and do this. I really just like to chill at home and watch TV. That's my number one thing. I don't want to have to stress or worry about anything. I do like to go out and eat with my friends. And of course, I'm working on my car. I'm not working on it, but I'm paying somebody to work on it. I look very, very much forward to having that and getting to ride around in that. But man, I'm a workaholic. I'm band at home. I don't have an off. And because this year's been so crazy and I have a bus route in the morning, I'm getting up at the band hall about 5:40 in the morning. So
you drive a route. You drive a route in the morning before you go to school.
Oh, I wake up about 4:45. I get to school about between 5:30 and 6. Just depends on the morning. I try to get about 45 minutes of work done peacefully beforehand, be it POs or respond to emails or whatever. And then I drive a bus route from 6:45 to 7:35. Then I get back and band class starts at 7:45.
Okay.
And
busy morning.
Yeah.
Busy morning.
Yeah.
But I learned I had to do it because I was falling behind, man. Like you're trying to get all these deadlines for Midwest and honor band and marching band. I'll never forget. I looked at Shannon and I said, "What was due today? Was it the Midwest thing, the honor band thing, or was it marching band? I can't remember." And she goes, "Yes." Oh God, it's just scary, man. It's like, again, one of my biggest fears, and we've all been there, right? You wake up in the middle of the night, like, I forgot to do this,
Mm-hmm.
and like you realize you passed the deadline and you're freaking out, and you have that feeling go over your body. It's just hopeless, and you're always just trying to avoid that. And I realized I have I don't know if I'm not obviously diagnosed with ADD, but I'm constantly like, if somebody's in the room, I can't, I'm a social person.
Yeah.
But I realized that in the mornings, nobody's bothering me. I can just focus on getting my stuff done.
That is nice.
Yeah.
You and Jose are very similar. You guys seem to work kind of in very, very similar ways.
The quieter it is in the band hall, the more productive I am.
Yeah. Which is probably never, except for when you're there before your bus route.
So, and like Shannon teaches 4th grade music and she's very good at it and all this stuff. And you think, oh, you got time to work on your stuff, but and you're like, wait, you're listening to that. And you're like, oh, she said something. That was pretty cool how she worded that. And you're like 5 minutes later and you're like, I'm not supposed to be listening right now. I need to do my POs.
Brian's out there with the recorder.
And the worst thing about it is you're like, okay, and you do all these POs, or you're working on budget stuff, or you're responding to emails, or you're making phone calls, and you're counting money from concessions or fundraiser sales. You're like, all right. And you're like, now I need to go to the admin office and take all this stuff over there. And then the bell rings and you're like, crap. So, and the thing is at 5:40 in the morning, guess what you can't do? Call hotels, set up rooms, set up food, do all that crap. And so you only have so many times to do that during the day. And then I don't know, but yes, I don't know if I'll continue to keep getting up early in the mornings, but I've gotten to where I like it, because get stuff done. And a lot of times I'll get a call and I look down and it's the transportation director. He say, hey man, I'm running behind. Can you open the bus barn up? And he knows that I'm going to be there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and otherwise who's going to do that? The bus routes are going to be late. So
yeah,
I said, yeah, I'll run down there and get it going. Yeah. That's the short and long of it.
What is a guilty pleasure TV show you're watching?
I'm sad to say that for a long time I was on My 600 Pound Life.
That's a good one. That's a good choice.
And the thing is that I'm rooting for them to win. And so if I'm halfway through the episode and they're still giving crap, and when it's about 35 minutes left and they are like just not lost anything
Mm-hmm.
in some of your life. You're like, dude, because you want to see them lose weight. But I like to watch Where They Are Now, the Secret
Yeah.
About Now. And I usually am eating Taco Bell while watching it, so that's not good. So right now I'm watching. Of course, I was real caught up in The Mandalorian and stuff for a while. I'm not really watching too many TV shows right now, but I did start watching Beast Games
Okay.
on Amazon Prime. And anyhow, Mr. Beast is real popular. I didn't know that. Now I do. From YouTube.
I feel like Brian's gonna have a lot more TV watching time
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
in like the next
Soon.
after the next
I have
week.
definitely. I will say over the break, for the first time ever, I watched all the Hobbit movies and all of the Lord of the Rings movies in order.
All right. Here we go. Favorite movie series,
Like
trilogy or
blockbuster,
otherwise?
like cinematic.
Yeah, franchise.
Star Wars.
I thought that was gonna be the
Okay.
answer.
Now, which set?
It's kind of a combination, but you really got to go with the original.
Okay.
But see, I really like the third episode a lot. That was the only movie in my life I watched twice in the theaters.
The third episode has like some of the best like fight
Yes.
scene,
Yeah, it does.
and that's where you see the transformation.
Yeah.
Did you watch Obi-Wan, the series?
Yes.
So good.
Yeah.
I forgot about that series. That's a really good one. Yes, incredible. And then I really like. I like villains. I don't know
The
why.
Undertaker, I get it.
Well, like in the Power Rangers, I always wanted them to lose. I'm like, they freaking win. Like I would scream at the TV. I'm like, dang it! And then the one time they lost, it was like the movie, right? They lost, and I was
To
like,
Ivanhoe's, yeah.
they lost. I don't remember that much about it, but they did lose.
I'm
If
gonna
I-
have to Photoshop Brian's head on Zed now.
Yeah, Zed or Avenues, yeah.
Like my favorite character in Star Wars is Darth Sidious. Like Return of the that's episode 6, right? Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
I like that one because that's the most scenes the Sith is in. And then I liked the 9th movie. A movie that everybody else really disliked, which I thought was one of the better ones, was episode 8. It had a dark vibe to it, and I just liked it.
You're gonna say you like Voldemort too.
Well, I never really got into the Harry Potter series. I read the books, but I need to watch all those movies. I've not watched them all.
That's a good use of your time.
It's Star Wars, but with wands.
I know. I need to watch it. I read some of the books, and I've watched like a few of the movies, the first few, but I need to watch them all. I'm not a huge fan of Voldemort. I don't know. Something about the Sith Lord. I don't know. He just seems. I don't know. This is cool. But yeah, favorite actor is Tom Hanks, so I like a lot of his movies.
All right. Okay. What is your favorite era and or maneuver from The Undertaker?
So I started watching wrestling about 96, 97, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I like the Lord of Darkness, like WrestleMania 14, that era, when he came back and faced Kane. But probably when he was in his purple and black.
All right.
I like the look. I think that was the most indicative of the dead man look. Hair in the face. At the time, thought it was really cool. The American Badass,
Yeah. This is a children's show.
yeah, the Biker Taker when he came back as Biker Taker, but I really liked it when he went back in 2004 and was back to the original. For every band director that's trying to figure out how to become a better band director, well, the Undertaker in purple and black is the way to go, man.
My favorite is when he walks the top rope.
Oh yeah, old school. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, what other like 7-foot guy does that?
What is your favorite wrestler?
Oh, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh, okay. I think you said that too.
And I have no problems with you liking Stone Cold Steve Austin. He was. I still like Stone Cold Steve Austin, but I don't know. Here's when I became I've always been a fan of the taller guys. Like I started out by watching WCW, and Kevin Nash was my favorite.
Yeah, he's so tall.
And I just like the big tall guys, And then like I guess because I can't ever be that, and then I watched and I remember one of the first Raws I ever watched was after Undertaker got burned by Kane or whatever at Royal Rumble, and a lightning struck the stage, and the box blew open, and he set up, and then he walked through flame. I'd have to send it to you sometimes, but I thought, I mean, 11-year-old Brian Towers or 12, whatever I was then, was like, this is the baddest thing I've ever seen. Like, lightning struck, blew this box open. This guy in this freaking dark trench coat gets up, and Kane like unleashes fire, and he's walking through it. And I was like, that's just awesome.
So, Brian, what you're saying is that you found your marching show for next year.
Hey, I've always thought about doing an Undertaker themed marching show.
You just need to put the cage on I had to explain to Alexa what Hell in the Cell was.
Yeah, I didn't know. I'm telling you.
Near the beginnings of me watching wrestling, and I was
doing other things in the late 90s, so I don't.
Again, no, we don't blame you. This is why you're probably more intelligent than both of us, more productive. Give you every like trivia for WWF and and WCW. That was just a thing for like that. Wrestling was the thing in the late 90s, especially teenage boys. I mean, my God. I mean, we were all choke slamming each other and like,
giving each other the stunner
on trampolines. Many of broken teeth and so forth from wrong moves.
Those are glorious moments.
I think I was in like kindergarten when you.
Oh man.
So.
I think y'all are a little bit younger than me. I think, but
no, I'm 39.
Oh, we're the same age.
You're 39.
I'll be 30 in April.
Alexa tried to make me 40 earlier this year.
When do you turn 40?
December.
So it's this year.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be wrong now.
Live last year in 30s. Live it out. You still got 10 months.
Yeah. Party hard.
9.5 months.
Wayne.
Swing. Anyhow. Thing of the 90s.
Well, I think that's all I got.
Yeah. Thank you, Brian, for talking to us.
I enjoyed it.
Where can we see you at tmea?
February the 14th at 1 p.m. It's a Friday at Lila
Cockrell.
1 p.m.
There.
All right. And then make sure you are at the ATSSB general meeting.
Which is at 2:30?
I will literally get done with the concert at 1:50, go down, take people's hands as quick as possible, and then go to CC 214 or 217. Can't remember for the meeting. So that's going to be stressful, but.
So we all need to go see Tenna Hall in Lila Cockrell on Friday afternoon, and then all dash to the ATSSB meeting. Yeah.
Awesome.
Right.
So,
hey, thank you for this, and
yeah,
I look forward to hearing the other episodes. I'm about halfway through John's. Of course, Mark's is not posted yet, and I need to go listen to Jesus. I think a lot of Jesus, what he's doing in that. You want to talk about tough?
Yeah.
1A.
Yeah. Well, that's where the question, is there a Dairy Queen there?
There is a Dairy Queen in Cross Plains.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's lucky.
I know.
I heard his high school band, which I knew it was good. I heard his middle school band. I judged this past year in that region, and I heard his middle school band. I was like, wow. Like a 1A middle school band. Like it was solid.
Yeah.
Really good.
He does good stuff.
But I'm going to go listen to other episodes of the podcast, but I just appreciate y'all putting this on. It's fun for people to get to hear, people aren't just sticking the muds, They actually are like wanting to be wrestlers and stuff. So
yeah, we all aspire to something. Well, that's all for this time on Band Yap. We'll see you next time. Bye.
We out.